Cody Reed did not know if he was going to race here tonight. Showed up late, missed out on practice, was here for qualifying. They're spinning a record as they cross the line. White flag is out. This race is official. Cody Reed got too big of a gap. Gavin Rogers, Scioli are going to have the run. Ollie Finsick in the 24 as well is going to be right there. Malarkey as well. It is going to be a huge run that this 25 has to hold back. Here we go. Scioli goes high. Rogers falls to the 25. They're both trying to find an opening to get around this. They're on Productions machine. They're 3 wide. Ollie gives the book to Cody Reed. Reed has the run. They're 3 wide behind. Cody Reed wins. It's go time for Hall. He's got to pass 3 drivers in 1 lap. Will he get by Forbes, or will Forbes block and defend? Hall trying to get to the inside. Forbes stays wide. Hall hits. Contact. Get out of the way, Forbes. Hall wants the win, but he overcooks the corner. He'll lose time there. Now going to be a 2.5 back, and Richard, it might just be down to the teammates.
Where will the mistake happen? Green looks like he's out of fuel. No, he just gets he's out of fuel. Talmadge makes the pass, and now Zach Hall coming down. But Talmadge could squeak away with this win if Hall does not get around Green fast enough.
Green just completely gives up on the chicane. He'll stay to the outside. Hall, though, he is finding himself closing in on the gap. He's a 2nd back. Thomas Green does not there. No fuel for himself. Jarrett Talmadge, he doesn't have the fuel. Hall sneaks by. Final chicane. Hall overcooks it. Talmadge gets through into the wall. Who's gonna have the time? They both slow down, and it's Hall at the line. Hall.
Right now, Jarrett Talmadge is going to try to throw a haymaker onto number 3 into turn 3.
Down to the apron. Does Talmadge have the run? Was the dive bomb big enough? He'll slide his way into the 3. They're almost door banging off the exit of turn 4. Side by side, coming to the line, and it's gonna be Ryan Kelly with the nose. 6 1/1000ths of a second goes to Ryan Kelly. Benjamin Nelson, Cody Reed on the inside groove, but it's Christopher Wade. Shane Terrian going to be leading the middle and the outside lane. Well, Christopher Wade, he gets tapped. Spud is the 53. It's down to Zach Hall. Benjamin Nelson, lock yourself into the next round. The 79 to the outside. Zach Hall in the 32 on the inside groove. Could Cody Reed be the stealer? Inside, down to the yellow line. Cody Reed steals it at the line. Before we get ourselves to the 802 Next Gen Elite Series racing action, we want to say thank you to some of the primary sponsors of the 802 Racing League. First and foremost, thank you to 802 themselves. Thank you to our post-race show sponsor, Riptide Radio. We want to also say thank you to G-Stone Motors. You can check them out in person in Middlebury, Vermont. As well, I want to say thank you to BG Graphics. As well, the 802 iRacing League podcast. And finally, the admin box. Thank you to all the major sponsors that help out with 802 Next Gen Elite Series. Now let's get ready for the racing action.
Motorsports and racing cars is a big part of the heritage here at G-Stone Motors. Todd and I have been racing each other for years. I love the one-on-one competition. It comes bottom line, we're all behind each other and support each other with everything we do. I think that says a lot about our company's culture. I'm Vince Quinville, Service Manager at G-Stone Motors.
G-Stone Motors, your family Ford dealership, Route 7 South, Middlebury, Vermont.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Thursday night. Tonight, we'll give you the coverage of the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. Season 1, Race 12 on the docket here this evening. Kind of a little bit of a recovery breath, some could say. Take a deep breath before you dive right back into the deep side of the pool, because we are coming to the end of the regular season, coming off of a 3-race short track streak of Iowa, Richmond, and New Hampshire. Got to see a lot of hard-nosed racing, some strategy calls that helped and assist some, and some long green flag racing that surprised us all. But tonight, the drivers test their skills on a historic track. In most NASCAR schedules, it's the start of the season. Of course, we come to Daytona to try to see who will take the crown jewel of a course where it's all about the draft. It's all about staying in line. Who can make the late dashing move? We'll figure out who can get it done tonight for the Firecracker 225 here from Daytona International Speedway. The 2.5-mile course has a lot of banking. It's got a lot of drivers set up to race, and we're going to be excited to give you all the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me this evening is Zach Hall, as always, up at the booth. Also running production in the background will be Robert Moyer Jr. But Zach, this is the last kind of normalcy track the drivers will have before it gets real difficult for the final 3 races of the regular season. So yeah, this is kind of the final chance for some drivers, maybe even also to get their 1 win of the season if you feel like you're not confident at any other courses that we go to.
Yeah, of the tracks remaining, this has definitely got to be up there with the tracks that is the most available to the majority of the field to win tonight. Because, super speedway racing, it just kind of evens everything out. You got the restrictor plates that lower the horsepower and bring everything into a draft pack that we see here. And I think tonight we could very well see a first-time winner this season, if anything. Or will we see someone out there and go, claim a victory here that's very important into late into the season?
I feel like each week we talk about returning drivers, sometimes new drivers that show up, but tonight a majority of returning drivers. We'll see how well they can handle the speed here this evening, as 35 drivers are going to be attempting to race here tonight. Now, there's still 4 minutes and 40 seconds left in practice, so late entries can still be upon us to see who can be making it in. But before we get to more conversations about some of the drivers that will be out on track, we do have to say thank you to the sponsors that are helping out with the 802 Next Gen Elite Series for Season 1. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to G-Stone Motors, BG Graphics, the 802 iRacing League podcast, as well as the Admin Box and Riptide Radio for being the sponsor of the post-race show. It's been a good one overall this season. Again, 11 races have been finished out so far. And Zach, there's just one driver on top of the board. That's Mark Whitley, coming off another victory for himself after winning last week at New Hampshire. But tonight is about the team game. I know we got a lot of drivers and teams that this is kind of the race they circled up of if we were not running well before, as a whole group, we can succeed here tonight.
Definitely so. This is a place where teammates and the team antics really play out. This is where you can work together not only in the draft, but when it comes to your pit strategy. I think those tracks, because pitting, by yourself is always a detriment here. So the more numbers you have, the more people on the same strategy willing to do the same thing, especially when it comes to amount of tire changes, the amount of fuel you change. I think that could be a big factor here tonight when it comes to strategy. As we know, these next gen cars, they've been kind of plagued by the fuel saving strategy here at these super speedways. But I'd say anything you can do to save time, these drivers are going to do. Is we're having some flips on the front straightaway.
Drivers seeing how massive the wrecks can be under practice, and honestly, when it comes to race conditions, they can be more violent and more massive than that. As everyone knows, when you come to a super speedway type track, when there's pack racing, there's always the looming big one, the big wreck that is going to take out a lot of drivers. Most of the field's hoping it will happen after they cross the checkers and the race is over, and the last wreck is after the race is done. But Zach, there's been times where you see the big one happen even on lap 1, let alone after the race is over.
No doubt, yeah, it can come at any lap. I feel like the big one is so unpredictable, when we watch it up here in the booth, we get to see signs of it coming, and just seeing it build up, so to say. But when you're a driver, it can really happen at any moment. One thing, all it takes is one thing is on, a restart, especially, or even the start of the race on lap 1, someone to make a wrong move towards the front end of the field, especially, and then it kind of trickles on worse as it gets farther back. So definitely could see that happen on lap 1 or lap 89. You really never know here tonight. It could happen on the last 190 and have, one car coming back to the finish.
And with us racing at Daytona and with no stage breaks happening, I think besides figuring out the tactics and antics of the air and how to work in the draft, drivers are practicing in it right now. Pit road, Zach, that's going to be another spot that these drivers can make or break on if they're going to win here tonight.
No doubt. I think pit road is probably more valuable here than you almost have at any other track when it comes to strategy, because drafting tracks, you can't really get away from your competition. When everybody's packed up together, you're stuck with them. But I will say pit stops always separate the packs. They always cause things that will cause a little bit of gaps to form here and there. Then next thing you know, you could be a group that's broken away from the field. So pit strategy, always critical, and especially with even the quicker stops that we're now experiencing in this next-gen car, I think fuel might even become even more of a factor, because it's just valuable seconds that you could gain on pit road to equate out into the racetrack.
Big gains, big losses, but ultimately it's all how can you put it all together here at Daytona. Can you find the luck? Can you show your talent? As we are about to get ready for some qualifying action. Now, at most tracks that we go to, drivers will have 2 laps for qualifying. Here tonight, drivers are only given 1 lap to put down their fastest time. That means, Zach, they got to be picture perfect right from the start.
They really do, Sam. And I like this. I like the call for 1 lap qualifying here, because you can do a lot of games when it comes to iRacing here in the qualifying sections, especially at plate tracks. It's really, something that shouldn't be a factor is really tire heat. It really shouldn't be a factor around here. It should just be raw speed and really about your line and really how you pick up the wind around this racetrack. But there's plenty of things that can play a factor. When you add in that extra lap, it kind of lets people play around and find what is the right tire temperature to find. I think when you have this 1 lap, dash here, you kind of just got to take off straight out of pit road and carry as much momentum to start the lap, so you have a good first lap. So I'm excited for this, because not only does you have to hit a good lap in qualifying, you got to get off pit road very strong.
You certainly do. We've had ourselves quite a few different pole sitter award winners. Only 2 drivers have 2 poles so far this season to their names, being Tyler Ducharme and Kevin D. Brown. Both have 2 poles themselves. And we got a long list of drivers with just 1 pole of Rob Lowell, Jim Ott, Scott Simley, as well as Grant Humphrey, Johnny Barker, Anthony Calazzoni, and Bryce Benton, which I'm excited to see some of these drivers that have gotten the poles before. What can they translate that over to tonight? The last semi you could call, super speedway type track that we ran was all the way back at Echo Park. And that was when we saw Kevin D. Brown find himself in a victory lane, and Anthony Calazzoni took the pole that evening. We'll see if there's some extra speed underneath the 84 to try to take the pole here tonight, or could it be someone else to try to grab their pole? 5 minutes, put down your fastest lap, and you only got 1 lap to do it. Make sure you don't graze the grass, you don't hit the wall, maximize your speed, and here we go as majority of the field is about to start their 1 and only lap.
Everybody coming to, like you said, start their lap, and this is important here. You got to get really through the gears well off of pit road, and then coming to the start the lap, you got to be very precise and not be moving that wheel a lot. Every time you move that wheel left to right, you're scrubbing speed. So you got to be very precise with it, smooth with your operation. And if you never know, down the back straightaway, you see that RPM climbing, you'll be knowing that you did a great job.
As the field now hitting the backstretch, about 30 drivers got to be trying to see their lap time complete almost at the same exact time. You're going to see these laps ranging from 1/10 to 1/1000th of a second. They're going to be extremely close. Some drivers will try to opt to try to be in the back as quickly as they can, and they'll put down a slow time. Others, they're doing this tactic, down to the apron, cross the line. Who can get the pole lap? Currently, it's Kevin D. Brown with a 50.287, but strip that away. It's now going to be a rattling of names. It's Christian Angel, top of the board. Banks close by 2/1000ths of a second. Here's coming a couple of the late runners. It's going to be Mike Kelly trying to see, does he have the pace to get on top? He's not going to go down on the apron. He'll stay on track. That's going to be the slower way around, but is it enough to top the board? No, it's good enough for 7th, but Steve Ritter now going to top the board. Now Calatoni by 13th. Now Joe Hudson, and it just rattles on through, Zach, and we still have 10 more drivers to go through their times.
That's exactly right. We'll see what Coleman does in that 38. He drops still below the line. He'll go 6th on the board, so time still clicking through. Multiple drivers still yet to put their laps in, but you know, it can really, a lot of times this thing can come down to sometimes the gusts of wind. You know, you catch a right gust of wind, you get the less gust of wind on the, you know, the front facing part of the car, you get a really good lap in there. But let's see, can Scott Simley find some speed here in the 33? We'll see where he goes up into the sheet, and it doesn't look like, 23rd. So Simley a little bit farther down, but it just shows you how close things are. That's a 10th of a second off Joe Hudson right now.
Our top 21 drivers are within 1/10 of one another. Then you fall down to 32nd position. They're 2/10 off the leader, just showing how close these drivers are. When we're seeing qualifying times at other tracks, it's ranging from going to be about a half a second to 4/10 off of each other. Right now, it is 2/10 the difference from 33rd to the pole time. Kevin Roy went with an opt-out lap. He's going to want to start in the end back of the line. We'll see how well he can recover from that point and move forward, as Steve Tucker wanted to wait. Eric Schaefer also going to be one of the late drivers to see what time the 7 can get. First, it will be the 7 crossing the line on what lap time he could possibly have first, as we're seeing Tucker getting ready to start his very first lap, his only lap. But he will not have enough time with 39 seconds left. There's not enough time for Tucker to even attempt a lap. It's just Schaefer in the 7 that's out on track that can put a lap down to challenge Joe Hudson. Hudson, does he have the magic to grab his one and only pole this season? Or will it go to the 7? Schaefer stays on the racing surface. The apron not utilized, but across the line, it's good enough for 9th.
Great lap still for him, but not enough to take Joe Hudson off the board. And like you said, Steve Tucker, he's going to run out of time. His time is clicking away. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. It doesn't like he'll be able to get back to the line because it'll end the session right there. So Joe Hudson on pole.
Congratulations to Joe Hudson in the 14 for grabbing the pole. We've seen Joe a couple of times. Whenever he gets a good qualifying run, he usually drops to the back on that first lap. So we'll see if the 14 wants to stay up front or if he'll drop the apron immediately. But for the rest of the field, they've got 5 minutes of warm-up period. This is your last bit of time to cool off, get yourself refreshed, ready for the racing action of 90 laps here tonight. And it as well gives us some time to take a deeper look of how the season's been so far. Let's first take a look at how the point standings are looking entering this evening. I know, Zach, there's been all about Mark Whitley the last practically since race 4 of the season is when the 77 took the points lead and he's never looked back. But we've seen a lot of other drivers emerge late, show up into the season. Of Chad Coleman, he's been having a great run these last few weeks, and very consistent, with Christian Angel 3rd. 4th is Grant Humphrey, and Scott Simley with a great recovery run overall this season to be up in 5th place. But the cutoff line, 15th position, with tonight and 3 more races after this. That's all that's left. And for Keith Ayers, also going to be seeing McCaffrey, Barker, also Caton the 3rd. There's a lot of drivers that need to start stepping it up if they want to make the chase.
That's for sure, Sam. You know, great job for the pole sitter, Joe Hudson. He's in 11th in points, so it's going to help him here starting up front here tonight, hopefully. But, you know, like you said, that second side of the list, this is where things start to begin. And I look at someone even like a Steve Tucker who's, you know, a good ways out, but, you know, he's been climbing his way through with some really strong finishes. So we'll see what some of these guys can do, but it's starting to get to that point of the season where it's do or die, so to say, Sam.
And let's take now a look at where we are in the schedule. Like I said, we got tonight and 3 more races. Those 3 upcoming races don't get any easier after tonight. You got Daytona, then we head to Darlington, Worldwide Technology Raceway, otherwise known as Gateway, and then we finish out the regular season at Bristol. Zach, probably the toughest part of the schedule these drivers have, besides the previous last 3 races we just had, are in front of us just to end the regular season.
Yeah, it really is. And, following the NASCAR schedule like these guys do, it kind of shows again at the end of these regular seasons, it is a grind, so to say. And I think it's going to be a grind for all these drivers to find their way to put themselves in position, because those are some tough tracks, man.
They certainly are. Well, this is our usual time that we have our pick'ems, and what makes this one a little bit more interesting, we forgot to make our choices before practice and qualifying. So now we get to make these choices live when we look at where drivers are at. And I'm going to go based off of just feel alone. I'm going to go with the 21 of Rob Lowell. I think Rob's had a tough couple of weeks. Well, coming in with his own team, they look to be fine-tuning for this style of racing. Watch out for Rob Lowell and his Wolfpack team to try to be up front. But Zach, who's your driver you're thinking about watching out for here this evening?
Well, I'm going to go for the driver that's set on pole here for Atlanta, and in second tonight, the 84 of Anthony Calatoni. He seems to have a very strong knack for these super speedway tracks in that 84, and I am thinking tonight this may be his opportunity to get victory lane.
It was bounce back and forth for me between those two, and then we have our producer in the background. That's Robert Moyer Jr., and Robert's pick going to be the 34 of Steve Tucker, who has been, I would say, one of the hottest drivers recently on just how fast he's been. Probably if he had a couple of more laps last week, could have won at New Hampshire, but finds himself taking away second place, and he has been second in the podium position quite a few times. We'll see if tonight it's victory lane for the 34. Or can someone else try to steal the show? Thank you, everyone that's joining with us here this evening on your Thursday night to watch the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. Again, this is Season 1, Race 12 for the Firecracker 225 here from Daytona International Speedway. We're going to be racing under the lights. The sun is dimming away quickly, and it's about to be nighttime where the track will start to heat up with all 37 drivers here this evening. As we're about to get ready to run down the grid, do again want to say thank you to the sponsors that are partnered up of G-Stone Motors, BG Graphics, the 802 iRacing League podcast, as well as the admin box and our post-race show sponsor of Riptide Radio. Thank you to all the amazing sponsors that have helped to be a part of the 802 Next Gen Elite Series, and as well, some of the sponsors help out with many of the other leagues that the 802 has on throughout the week. It is a pleasure to be a part of this community, but it's about to be race time. Warm-up is coming to a close. Practice, qualifying, warm-up, all done. All that's left is 90 laps of super speedway racing here from Daytona. There's going to be no stage breaks. There's going to be no fast repairs. Just 2 extra sets of tires to work with in pit road. We'll see how well they want to take control of the race here this evening. Are we taking it easy? Are we going to all stay in a single file train? Or are we going to be racing it for all 90 laps? Well, let's find out as the field begins to grid up. Top spot, gonna be new pole sitter award winner. It's the 14 of Joe Hudson. To his outside, it's gonna be the 84 of Anthony M. Calatoni. In row number 2, we find the 61 of Steve Ritter with Christian Angel in the 79. Behind them, in row number 3, we find in 5th place the 55 of Brandon T. Banks. Well, the 5s are lining up. We'll see if Victory Lane lines up for that 55 team with Chad Coleman, second in points. He'll be starting in 6th place here tonight. David Glass, who's had a rough season so far for the 87. Can he finish the race out? Well, he's starting in a good position. Going to be up front in row number 4. To his outside, going to be the 93 of Kevin D. Brown. Back in finishing out the top 10, we find the 7 of Eric Schaefer in 9th and the 48 of Grant Humphrey.
Whitley, our points leader, will start in 11th. 12th alongside him will be Mike Kelly. 13th is going to go to the 72 of Derek McDonald. Great qualifying in 14th for Arabia Caton III. 15th is going to be the 26 of Josh Parker. 16th is going to go to the 42 of Keith Ayers. Evan Fuqua going to start in 17th. 18th is going to go to Michael Wolf. 19th is going to be Devin McCaffrey, and rounding out the top 20 is Kevin McDonald.
And in 21st position, we find the 82 of Tanner Tallarico, as well as going to be seeing Eli Raposa in the 46, starting in 22nd place. Colin Trebass in the 39 will start in 23rd. 24th is the 9 of Tyler Humphrey, with Scott Simley in the 33, starting pretty deep in the field in 25th. 26th, we find the 21 of Rob Lowell, with Logan Troyer in the 12, back in 27th. 29th is the 6 of Johnny Barker. In 28th, where Johnny Barker is. 29th, we find the 1 of Brandon Grand. And finishing out our top 30, it's going to be the 11 of Chris Progrard.
Starting in 31st, it's going to be the 71 of Brett Hahn. Jason Harrison going to start in 32nd. Ty Dickinson's going to be 33rd. In 34th, it's going to be the 27 of Kip Easley. 35th is going to go to Matt Taylor. 36th is going to be Kevin Roy. And 37th running on our field is Steve Tucker. And it looks like Tucker on pit road still.
Still in pit road, yet to leave. So we'll see what happens at 34, if he's just going to do a start and park, or if he's just not able to take off and a go. But unfortunately, will be missing the grid. So it will be 36 drivers about to take the green. The 34 will start from pit road. But it's been a fun season so far. And a super speedway of fun. What can we have? We've got Talladega later on in the middle of the chase. But tonight, it is a make or break moment for some drivers that are outside of the top 15 in points. This is a night that some drivers have circled on their schedule as potentially the only race that maybe they can get into victory lane. Others, this is a team aspect to see how well they can work together. But we're excited. Your Thursday night, it's the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. Race 12, the Firecracker 225 is underway with Joe Hudson, Calatoni, and they are side by side roaring down into turn number 1. Here we go, Zach. It's super speedway racing.
It is Sam and Calatoni with a great start up top. He's got a great push from the 79 Angel, as that top side already showing they want to shove here early, but you got to be careful. Tonight we will see it. If anybody gets too aggressive with the shove, it's going to cause issues.
As all the drivers trying to figure out, do we want to be patient? We have seen the next gen vehicle be a space and time is dropping down low. Going to be Christian Angel, not waiting for their opportunity at all. They saw a chance, push that 84 so far out that there was an opportunity to push to the lead, but because they got side drafted so aggressively, it gives Chad Coleman a chance to push Calatoni to the front, and the 84 will lead lap number 1. And that outside is rolling right now, but it looks a little antsy, Zach. Like everyone wants to take an opportunity to go for a pass.
Right now, everybody is definitely looking a little antsy, Sam. Is look, Calatoni's going to have to drop to the bottom side of the 838. Has got the shove from Kevin D. Brown there, going around the outside here for the lead position. Give that to Chad Coleman here down the back straightaway.
And Coleman looks good, and a resurgence from the inside as Angels trying to push Calatoni forward. But that outside group, there are some big momentum just runs drivers are getting from the third, fourth row on back. Is Michael Wolf going to be stuck in the middle? He's got McCaffrey on the inside, and that purple Pirates machine finds an opening. Is going to be Wolf to the inside, and also going to be seeing the 94 of Kevin McDonald on the outer groove. McDonald's had the last couple of weeks have been a rough one, caught up in some late spins and wrecks. We'll see how well they can try to make their runs forward, but are already seeing a little bit of 3 wide passes further on back. Luckily, they sorted them out quickly, because those are the moves that you really don't want to make this early on.
That's for sure, Sam. Yeah, you know, low value, high risk maneuvers. That is really what you'll see once you get farther in the back with 3 wide maneuvers. So we'll see how they work it out. They've done a good job of doing that so far, but right now you can see everybody a little bit of a handful with the race car. This car it's sometimes like that. You know, you'll get these times where it's just not handling well, and that's when the shoves and the pushes really start to cause problems, when people just can't already hold onto their cars anymore.
Christian Angel will move back up to the outside group, being shoved along from Coleman and Kevin D. Brown. 3-car breakaway rolling the top, and this has kind of been as this week, again, the 802 NASCAR Elite Series follows the NASCAR schedule. Unless they're heading to a road course, then they will swap that car out. Or if it's a track iRacing does not have, they will swap it out to a 1.5-mile course. But Zach, throughout this week, been watching a lot of official races, with whenever they're at Daytona, Talladega, a lot of drivers love to test their fates on official racing. But this outside group, it is showing early on that it is the dominant lane to be in if everyone's willing to work together.
That they are, and it looks like up front Coleman is taking a chance with Kevin D. Brown to get ahead of Angel, who slid ahead of him. But it is definitely an interesting situation with the super speedway racing that we see right now with this next gen car. We know how controversial it is in the real life NASCAR Cup Series. It has definitely become even controversial here on the iRacing side of things, where it's not as racy as it used to be. So it's definitely something I think NASCAR's even looked to improve with the rules package update. Hopefully we'll get that here on iRacing at some point if that is a positive sign for them. But definitely a lot of people feeling like the racing is kind of staled out a little bit when it comes to these super speedways especially.
You see drivers testing their fates, willing to side draft aggressively, but as we hop on board with Coleman, this is what he's seeing as he's pushing the current leader of Kevin D. Brown. Visibility non-existent. Luckily, there's a mirror to look up to see what's going on behind you, but up front, it's just follow the driver and hope that you're not giving him a bad bump like that one we just saw.
That is for sure. He's doing a good job of shoving that 93, but he had to get that 93 to jump out as Whitley went to make a move. He makes it 3 wide, bounces to the outside. This will be interesting. Whitley closes the door. That was close there in this early action. Is now Brown back to the inside, 3 wide here again off into 3 and 4. This racing's been aggressive here early. Drivers fighting for that early lead.
And Mark Whitley, I think, was trying to hold up some of those drivers to be able to get in line with Christian Angel. Finally able to move up to that 3rd lane where he finds his teammate. Now going to be seeing the inside, starting to muscle their way forward. And now we got some new names getting into the mix. It's Keith Ayers as well as seeing Josh Parker and our pole sitter of Joe Hudson. He's back inside of the top 5 when he fell outside of the top 15 there for a quick second.
Definitely a great job for Hudson to mark his way back up there. But you can saw Whitley, he wanted his teammate Angel with him. That is what you'll see a lot of here tonight. Sometimes you'll give up positioning even just to get with your teammate to put yourself in a more favorable situation. As now they all look to drop low as the 22 of Kelly, with the help of the 84s, jumped outside.
There's a lot of drivers were trying to make some big moves to go forward with all the jostling that was going on, and contact. Going to be seeing a big spin slide into the outside wall. And big contact with Ritter and a few others as they continue to let cars drift to the inside. And we are still wrecking on the pit road entry and across the line. 2 separate incidences that just continued to mount into a bigger wreck.
Yeah, that was weird to see how long that continued for with some of the drivers out there. But it all started around that 23, I believe, of Joe Hudson. Is right where it all started because they just kind of stacked up a little bit. So, sorry, 14. Sorry, 14 there, guys. Is definitely, unfortunately, spinning himself across the nose of another car thing.
Yeah, Joe Hudson having the wrong number on here tonight, throwing us off. I was confused as well as our producer I was like, I know that's a car that's doing well, and that's kind of the aftermath incident that happened to the 23. There was a wreck when they were coming out of turn 4 when the incident happened. And here we go, a look at it. Steve Ritter, low quarter panel, and just trying to stay alive. And you're going to see Mike Kelly go up to the outside, and as well, Calatoni trying to build some momentum. A couple of other drivers going to the outside, but it's going to be a bad bump, I believe, coming out of turn number 4, where everything just goes wrong.
Let's see here. Look at 23 looking to slide up, and he is indecisive. Wanted to cover off Kelly, went to get back in front of Ritter. Ritter's there, and unfortunately, look at the hit for Ritter. Look at our points leader, Mark Whitley involved. Joe Hudson, our pole setter, to 79 Christian Angel. So 2 of the Harpoon design cars heavily damaged. I think Arabia Clayton here gets clipped. And yes, look, he comes back up the track and gets Joe Hudson for another hit.
Yeah, that's the second incident that happened off the initial break off. There was then a second incident with Steve Ritter as well as Mark Whitley that came just crawling across the track on the other side. So you see Mark Whitley's incident where he's heavily damaged. We're going to take another look at it of the secondary incident of the drivers that then went to the inside wall and the amount of cars collected in that one.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those incidents that collected a lot of different vehicles, so to say. We'll see again, what happened farther back as it transpires. You see what's going to happen here ahead. Whitley just takes his run. He's unfortunately going to be wrong place at wrong time. Then you'll see the cars dart left here. A lot of people looking to get around it, but like 61, I don't know if he had no brakes or not.
I don't know if his brakes are broke or just never touched them. He just let it rip. I saw that happening, and I'm just confused on. There was no attempt to try to slow down that momentum and collecting an extra 3-4 drivers that should not have been involved in that wreck.
Yeah, completely agree, Sam. I mean, sometimes you do break, your suspension and your toe links in these cars, and it will cause the brakes not to be as, perform as well. But that definitely looked to me to be a more situation where I just don't think Ritter was on the brake pedal enough. You would want him to hold the brakes so the car doesn't slide across the track as fast. But I mean, look at the rate of speed they're going. It's definitely a huge hit.
I mean, at the rate that I was seeing, it looked like he just threw it in reverse and just was throttling up to go even faster. Kind of wild to see as multiple drivers involved. And that is going to be our first caution of the day. And with all the chaos, all the rambling around, it's going to be Keith Ayers leading this race with Mike Kelly. Going to be up front as multiple drivers from 7th on back decided to come into pit road, top off on fuel. Nobody looking to take tires except for Jason Arison, it looks like, in the 64. A majority of the field going to be opting to get damage repair, but 2 drivers out of this race. Our pole sitter, Joe Hudson, 23 on track, 14 on our ticker out of this race, and as well our points leader of Mark Whitley. Zach talked about how he has had a lot this season of getting caught up in a situation where he's wrecked or put in a bad spot and then able to recover later on. Tonight, there is not enough of that vehicle to try to bring back it on track.
No recovery tonight for the 77 team. That was just too big of a hit. Again, wrong place, wrong time for that driver. And, interesting situation with the pit stops, though, Sam. You brought it up from 7th on back, everybody pits. I was expecting kind of everybody to do that just because, again, it just puts you in a more favorable situation when it comes to a fuel strategy. Even if it doesn't allow you to make one less stop, it gives you, valuable 3 to 4 seconds on pit road that could be a difference when it comes down to later pit stops. So these drivers are here taking a little bit of a gamble staying out, but we'll see how well it works and plays out for them. Luckily for them, we're still, I think, well distance away from where a green flag stop would need to be made.
Do again want to shout out G-Stone Motors for all the amazing replays we just got to see, as well as BG Graphics for being our caution flag sponsor. And on top of that, the admin boxes we've been given the 1 to green. It's about to be back to green flag racing here this evening. Wild to see how this thing just went awry and just indecisive moves that ricocheted into about 11 car pileup of drivers that were collected in some which way in that incident. But pace car about to pull off. First caution is done. Time for us to get back to green flag racing here from Daytona for the Firecracker 225. Pace cars in pit road. We enter the restart zone. Ayers, Kelly, going to be your front 2 as we are green once again here for race number 12.
Great restart for them, but I tell you, you don't want to have too good of a restart. You see there, Kelly, he's able to drop down behind David Glasser. That's huge for him, but you don't want to get too big of jumps here at Daytona. Anytime you see those gaps like we're seeing right there, that car about 4th on back of Kevin McDonald, he's going to have a huge run, but he's actually going to go ahead and already dip out.
Oh, trouble behind. Scott Simley going to be tossed around. No cautions thrown because he's down on the apron, able to do a really good 360. And nope, he's going to spin it again, trying to throttle up. No caution going to be thrown for the 33. We are still green with no more oncoming traffic. No caution will be thrown, and it's still going to be Ayers up front. That was just a simple off the nose of the 12, it looked like, of Logan Troyer that got the 33 out of shape and down to the inside. But with the way these guys are ducking and diving, a caution might be still looming. So Scott Simley, your race doesn't look to be completely over just yet, but the unfortunate fact of we don't have a stage break or competition caution that will be thrown here tonight, you're banking on other drivers having mistakes if you need a caution.
That's right, Sam. Nothing is guaranteed when it comes to that. So we'll see how it plays out. I mean, you look at Steve Tucker, he had to start on pit road, and he got the lucky caution that allowed him not to go a lap down. So if you're Scott Simley, you're thinking the same thing here. Please just let me be able to hang on enough time to where these guys can wreck, because if not, he's going to be putting himself in a terrible situation being a lap down early.
Starting to see a little bit of that shuffling to the outside, and no surprise, it's Kevin D. McDonald. I'm going to be seeing Kevin D. Brown, excuse me, and Calatoni moving forward with Chad Coleman. Zach, these three drivers, they know how to get it done already. We saw the speed in those first 5 laps, and already on lap 13, taking control of the outside group. Now going to be joined along with Josh Parker. Also seeing Eli Raposa. That outside group's just getting stronger and stronger with more drivers added in. I am now Mike Kelly wants to join the fray. That is a very strong 5-driver group in line, but they got to be careful for this lead pack because they've got a lap car already in front of them.
That they do. This will be interesting to see how this shakes out, but right now, Kevin D. Brown leading the way is Clayton here. Or Caitlin's going to be getting lapped to the inside here. Goes to the apron. Will allow the field to go by. Hopefully, no issues as they go through the tri-oval. He does slide back onto the track right in front of everybody. Oh, that was close.
Luckily, drivers aware of the scenario, and back out down to the apron goes the 30 machine, but big scare for the front runners. I think they were worried because of the way that he drifted to the middle of the track before dropping out of the apron. No one truly knew where the 30 was going to go until the very last moment. But seeing a lot of shuffling of drivers on the inside trying to hold the wheel straight. I mean, Zach, it sounds so easy when you're just saying, hey, hold the wheel straight. The car will go straight. But it's a little bit more complicated than that when you're driving these cars at over 190 miles per hour.
Yeah, it really is a big, a small task to say, but a big action to do. So I've always been impressed with drivers that are, fearless when it comes to that. But definitely when that pack's running up to you, you got to do your best just to hold station. If you're going to hold the bottom, hold the bottom. If you're going to hold the top, make sure you hold the top. Now, the one no-no I would say is don't hold the middle, because then you're going to be putting yourself in an interesting position where people are going to have to split you. But definitely it was close there with that first time coming around the lap car, but we'll see how it shakes out throughout the rest of the night as these guys, again, continue to explore what line will be quickest. And I'm actually very, very impressed right now, Sam. I was expecting majority of the night to be up against the wall with what I've seen a lot in these next-gen cars around Daytona lately, but it seems like right now, for the time being, people are willing to make the bottom run too.
I think also it comes from the experienced drivers that I think I'm expecting to be kind of the heavy favorites that we've seen perform really well at other tracks. They're all lingering on the outside groove. So a lot of the guys that this is kind of their first time this season being up front, they're the ones that are trying to be the pioneers to make this inside of work. And they are trying their best to just make their way forward and at least hold ground as long as possible. Update for those that are just joining us here this evening. We already had our first caution of the day back on lap number 8 of this race. A little bit of an indecisive move by our pole sitter of Joe Hudson coming down, taking himself out, and a few other drivers also collected in that wreck. Still in pit road is Steve Ritter and David McCaffrey. Out of this race, Mark Whitley and Joe Hudson. As the rest of the field is out on track, we've got ourselves connected in this lead pack, going to be the top 25. There's a second pack that's about 10 seconds back as we find ourselves with Tyler Rico as well as Han and Arison that are in a 3-man group. Before we get a lot of drivers that were heavily damaged from that first wreck that are kind of just a lot of solo packs with Michael Wolf, Brandon T. Banks, Christian Angel, Scott Simley, and Arabia Caton III that are kind of just lingering on track. Some are a lap down, being Arabia Caton III. Others just waiting for when this lead pack finally catches them.
That they are. And Scott Simley is that next car to get caught by our leaders. But I will say he is quickly catching Christian Angel, who in the 79 is just putting around here trying to make laps in that hurt car. So don't expect Angel to be able to hang on to any packs. That car is heavily damaged, about 3 seconds off the pace compared to a regular race car, but we'll see how well this all shakes out. Simile going to be the first one to go a lap down, though, I think, here.
As the field is jostling around, try to find your partner and move forward. Others just getting out of the way. I think a lot of the movement I'm also seeing from drivers is seeing similar. If you're pushing a driver for long enough, you're kind of getting out of the way, so then you've got space to cool off the tires. It certainly is something that we'll see how this field wants to react moving forward, but I don't know how they want to cool off these engines with not as much pushing that we're seeing as it was earlier on.
and that's one thing we haven't really brought up tonight, Sam. I think is a great point you mentioned, is the cooling off and the engine cooling of these cars, because I think a lot of aspect of this racing is everybody thinks that you kind of go all out at every point, but you really cannot. If you're tucked up someone behind someone like a Chad Coleman there who's pushing Kevin D. Brown, you see how he ducks out to the right there, folks. That's to get a little bit of air sometimes, even just into the cooler in the radiator, that front of the car, to cool down these motors, because whenever you're tucked up behind someone like that, there is no air flowing into that motor, and it will quickly go from being a huge issue for a motor, and you will see someone expire that thing, and right in the middle of the pack, that is a dangerous thing to do.
Also in the middle of the pack, lap cars taking the high side and inside lanes. Main reason why Scott Simley's trying to slow a lane down so he's able to get back attached with this lead pack. The 33 was at full speed. There was no damage collected for the 33 team. He got spun around on the restart back on lap number 11. But he has been caught, passed, and now currently in the clutches of this mid-pack as he's trying to stay attached. But I'm looking at one driver that's really bouncing around. That's the 7 of Eric Schaefer, who has touched the apron. He's been pushed around. He's making some jostling moves with Zach. It's everywhere in the pack where drivers are making some odd moves.
There really is a lot of stuff going on here tonight so far, Sam. And right now, a lot of drivers jostling around as they ride on Rob Lowe. And, I look at Lowe and them, and they got to be careful here not to lose too much time here, because this will get very, very dire for them if they lose this pack. They do not want to have that situation play out for them.
Just to let everyone know out there in chat, our producer of Robert Moyer Jr. is having some wild weather conditions on his side of the world, as he is trying his best to keep us live as long as possible. But if at any moment we randomly have to shut the stream down, it's because weather conditions in his area have forced him to have to vacate the computer. So just to let everyone know, there is a scenario in the background where if we do have to shut down, you know exactly why. But Zach, we'll try our best to continue to broadcast this on until Robert has to leave, or hopefully this storm cell passes cleanly by him, as it certainly is a wild one on his side, as the track starting to see the mid-pack and a couple of other drivers spacing out, as this is pack number 2 that's trying to close in on the lead group, but they're losing time.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about. They can't do that. Right now, McDonald, who is leading that group from the 72, he's about 2 seconds back. You lose 2 seconds, that means you're almost fully out of the draft from that front group. So Tucker, Lowell, all of them look to get around McDonald. They look to say, all right, we need someone else new to lead this group and someone else new to be the second car pushing. We'll see how these 3 work together. But this is an important time for them, because that pack up there can only get farther away, and that can put you in a terrible situation here early.
A driver who got good track position with not pitting, but had troubles with connection that took him out of the server, and now he's trying to get back in. It's the 87 of David Glass. Unfortunate to see that happen for himself, as David McCaffrey is sliding on the inside for himself. I don't know what just happened. He entered the corner on the apron, and that thing just spun around on him. Well, luckily he stays down on the apron, so no caution is thrown, but a bizarre moment for the 29 machine that's just currently trying to do some runs, a couple of laps to see how far he can go, as we take a G-Stone replay of what just happened for the machine.
Yeah, this one was an interesting one, Sam. So I had to go back and check this out for myself, because I'm like, what exactly happened there? But I'm thinking that he just missed a downshift there, or an upshift. He was going to go, I think, from 3rd to 4th, and when he did, he hits the bump here on this apron, and it just upsets the car. You can see right there he's going over the what would be the chicane for the road course, but right here there's some more bumps right there, and look at those bumps, man. Those things are gnarly. And then look at this car. It just bounce. It was just hopping along.
If we're lucky that this is virtual side of things, I think if this was in real life, that 29 might have been flipping with the way that it was bouncing around. Crazy to see these massive machines moving like that. But as we go back to our live coverage, again, big thank you to G-Stone Motors for our replays that we see here tonight, as it is a single file train for a majority of our front 10. A little bit of side-by-side action with some lap cars back in 12th and 13th position, but up front, it's Brown, Coleman, Parker, Calatoni, This is the top 4 drivers. I think when we think back to how we saw the racing back at Echo Park for the mile-and-a-half Atlanta Superspeedway style course, these were some of the heavy favorites during that race as well. And they're just showing it doesn't matter which type of Superspeedway racing we have, they're going to be contenders up front that are willing to push and shove because they are bumping each other to try to break away from the rest of the field.
That they are. And, this is starting to play out into a little bit more of what we've seen with this next-gen car and some of the Superspeedway racing, where very much a single-file race. I will say, this is playing out well for the guys up front, but for them, they are putting themselves in a situation where they're going to have to spend a little bit more time on pit road. Now this was a group of the 3 drivers who did come to pit road and fuel their cars up under that latest stop. But, compared to the other drivers who've come down to them, Kevin D. Brown is going to be using a ton more fuel out front. And Chad Coleman also being the second car kind of pushing this line along, he's also going to be using a ton of fuel. Now, everybody from on back, they're going to be able to save a good bit compared to these two. That is where the issue comes for them. You could lose the pack by just having to take more fuel.
And a meatball flag has been given out to the 79 of Christian Angel, who we've already noted on being extremely slow, heavily damaged from the first initial caution, and will be heading into pit road. I believe that that could be a tire down with how just wonky the tires look on the 79. But we'll try to wait and see if he's officially out of this race or not. As you can see there's Angel heading into pit road. Harpoon Designs, this is not the night you were hoping for. With Mark Whitley already out of this thing, Angel gone, and not seeing Jonathan Smith. That is going to be one of the favorite teams, I think, entering tonight with their aggression and willingness to make big moves out of this race.
That is heartbreaking, man. Yeah, I was expecting a lot from them, the Harpoon Design cars, and unfortunately, like you said, both of their heavy hitters, both their top 2 men in points, taken out here early at Daytona. And that is a super speedway for you, man. It plays out this way a lot of times. And it's just a tough situation to be in. Is right now, looking at the outside line, kind of making a resurgence. And the car that's leading that outside line, that is the lap down car of Scott Simile. He will be the first car a lap down. Brandon T. Banks also is in this pack. So those two would be racing for the lucky dog, so to say. And they're in this pack. Look at this. Simile with a great run, but this is going to be Kevin D. Brown who says, nope, the lap car, you're not going to the outside around us.
I'm curious if he was trying to block Simile or just defend that outside lane, not allowing the 33 to try to unlap himself the hard way. With seeing who was behind you, I just know majority of the field does not have a real-life spotter behind their ear to give them and feed them information. So I'm curious if maybe that could have helped, as Evan Fuqua in the 76 now going to be the new leader with Tyler Humphrey. Both drivers up 16 plus positions from where they started. And it's always fun to see some of these drivers that qualify deeper in the field work together to march their way forward. And that's exactly what we're seeing from the 9 and the 76 that are working the outside. The only problem, all their friends and allies have ditched them. To the inside they go.
Well, is that another problem for him, Sam? The 76, he's going to be able to push. But if we can see closer, you look at that nose of that race car. It is destroyed on the splitter. That is not going to have a lot of aero efficiency as the lap car comes up here. But, man, he's definitely going to have cars ahead of him if he wants to have a factor.
Officially now out of this race will be Christian Angel, as Steve Ritter in the 61 is that driver that goes another lap down, staying to the inside. And that will be putting this 61 now 20 laps down. And able to figure out to stay in the draft with this lead pack. So we'll see how Ritter is able to mix with this group, as we're on board with the 84 of Anthony Calazzoni, who's been in the top 5 all race long and continues to just look in his mirrors and see, okay, who's around me? Who do we need to worry about? And Zach, I've got my eye on the 7. It's Eric Schaefer. The only problem for Schaefer is we know with this next gen, you need friends, you need allies to make passes and make massive runs. I don't know if the 7's made enough friends and allies throughout his short stint here this season in the 802 Next Gen Elite Series to make these massive runs to go for a win.
I'd have to agree, yeah. It's always a learning process, so to say, when it comes to drivers. And sometimes drivers are not willing to go with you if you're one of those newer drivers. So Schaefer going to have to figure that out. We'll see how it works out for him tonight. He definitely was a big talking point of New Hampshire with his run there, but right now, single file for the time being. And I tell you what, Scott Simley is leading this group. He'll be the first car on the tail end of the lead lap. But you know who really enjoys this is actually going to be Brandon T. Banks, who is the first car lap down technically because of Simley leading this line. So if Simley was to get lapped here, Banks would lose the lucky dog. But right now, Banks in position to get it with Simley leading the way.
Yeah, I'm now curious for the lap cars that were closing in on before the 30 of Clayton, as well as the 29. They both went to the apron when they were getting passed by the lead pack. It looks like they both will be shifting to the outside group. They don't want to lose the draft of working with one another and feeling like it's much safer to go to the outside with everyone single filed out to allow the pack to drive on by. I love that call to at least stay on the track. That way you're not losing any momentum by dropping to the apron as a lap car.
That's for sure. Yeah, I think it's always smart to, if anything, just try to hang on by going to the outside. Yes, you could run the inside and kind of be a nuisance, so to say, to the rest of the field. But I think it's always better just to play that line that they're not using. So good job of those drivers doing that and not going onto the apron to lose too much time there. As you can see, this is the 6 of Johnny Barker. He is the last car in this front grouping here. He's 2.6 seconds off our lead. But I think the one critical thing, that second group we talked about that, was only about a second or two back at one point. They're 4 seconds back now in Steve Tucker as we look at that gap. And you got to imagine Tucker, Lowell, and Garan leading that group. They really want to get up there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you got ProGuard as well in that one. Kevin Roy, if he can have a good run here tonight, a couple of good finishes these last couple of races, might be able to make a late surge for the chase. And just looking for some good runs is the majority of this pack we're looking at on screen. Tucker, Lowell, I know for both of them, this is not where they want to be settling in here, but at least you're in a safe, quote-unquote, safe position as we're closing in to the halfway of this race. Well, we're in a little bit of a train, follow the leader moment. We are going to step away and take a quick commercial break, a side-by-side. We won't be too far away from this one, but Zach, it's been certainly a lot of fun racing so far, but this is kind of the wait and see moment of racing action as all drivers have got on board. It's time to ride along the choo-choo train until pit stops line up here in the next few laps. Thanks so much for joining with us here on the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. You're watching the Firecracker 225 here from Daytona on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. You won't miss a thing as we go side by side.
Admin Box is built by iRacers for iRacers for use in league and hosted races.
Connected to iRacing simulation.
The goal? To make race control as easy as possible. Each admin box features pre-programmed commands, no key binding. Get your discount code and go to adminbox.com.
Motorsports and racing cars is a big part of the heritage here at G-Stone Motors. Todd and I have been racing each other for years. I love the one-on-one competition. When it comes bottom line, we're all behind each other and support each other with everything we do. I think that says a lot about our company's culture. I'm Vince Quinville, Service Manager at G-Stone Motors.
G-Stone Motors, your family Ford dealership, Route 7 South, Middlebury, Vermont.
Thank you again so much to the admin box and as well to G-Stone Motors, as well as want to say thank you to BG Graphics, the 802 iRacing League podcast, and Riptide Radio for sponsoring the post-race show. Well, you are watching the 802 Next Gen Elite Series here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. It's a pleasure to give you the coverage live here this evening. And for those that are rewatching back the day after, maybe a couple of weeks after, who knows how long it's been, we appreciate you coming back and seeing how this Daytona race is coming along. Certainly has been eventful in the first, I would say, 15 laps of this race. Saw a lot of side-by-side racing, drivers having their first wreck on lap 10. But since then, it has been single file. Find your partners and get in line. Hope that you don't blow up on your engines and hope that you don't make any mistakes to lose the draft. But Zach, it is that portion of the race where everyone's communicating with their teammates. They're maybe talking about strategies. Maybe they're talking about how their day went. This is kind of the weird lull period that you go through when you come to Daytona.
Yeah, it definitely is. This is always that point of the race where it kind of just drops down in the intensity level. Everybody is getting to a number, so to say. And, I got to applaud the drivers for doing this, because it takes a lot of patience to do this. Some people will go out there and they can't do it, and they'll just, end up going out there and it being a long night of wrecks. But these guys are willing to kind of let it all come to them, get to a number. And once we get to that final stop, I think, of this race, there's going to be a ton of action.
Yeah, and I think what also kind of helps is the fact that we did have that caution on lap 10, allowed this field to go in the pits, get their service, get a little bit of a pit stop of topping off on fuel to stretch the fuel to a point where I'm watching at the lap times, we're not really falling off on a pace. Everyone's still gung-ho, putting on fast laps. It's not like some of the other races we've seen in the past and with real-life NASCAR where the pace drops off multiple seconds because everyone's going half throttle, quarter throttle, just trying to save fuel. It looks like we're able to hit the markers even with going almost full out on the pace that we're going right now.
Yeah, I think with that caution laps, with the caution there, it kind of makes everything a little bit easier, of course. With the 90-lap race here tonight, most likely, in my opinion, you're going to see people try to get a one-stopper out of this thing. At the beginning, now it was going to be tougher, of course, on fuel when it came to that before. But now with the 7-lap caution, it just makes everything that little bit easier. And then anything now you can save is just a gain in race time. It's not really a gain in strategy. It's a gain in overall time. And if this thing stays green, those 3 to 4 seconds you can gain on pit road by less fuel being taken can be very valuable.
As we've also had a couple of drivers call it a night already, being Christian Angel, Mark Whitley, Joe Hudson. Hudson grabbing his first career pole, but the evening ending early for the 14 driver, 23 if you go back on the broadcast to see what his car number was. Certainly a weird one, but here's some of the other drivers that have been out on track that we really haven't been able to talk about because they're in what we call no man's land. They are way off the pace, but working as a group. You got the 82 of Tanner. That's going to be Tallarico, as well as Brett Hahn, Jason Ayers, and also lap down driver of David Glass, who got disconnected from the server, reconnected, and currently 2 laps down is the Red Bull 87, who most likely needs to get a little bit closer to try to help this pack go a little bit faster, but they're about 35 seconds off the pace and distance to our leaders. So they're gonna need a little bit of help for themselves here tonight. Here's another couple of drivers that are way off the pace. Here's the 5 machine of Michael Wolf, as well as Kevin McDonald in the 94 that are a part of the second pack of drivers.
It's different packs all around, Sam, different agendas, and a lot of people here just trying to make lap time. And the biggest thing is they're not going like you brought up. We see with the real life Cup Series, they'll go 2 to 3, maybe even 4 seconds up off the pace of what a fast lap could be. They are not doing that here tonight. I mean, a 45.98 is about the range of what you would see a fastest lap, right around the 45.90s. We're running 46.40s up front. So right now we're only about 4/10 off of that fastest laps of the race, and that just tells me that everybody's just kind of in the ride mode of just save as much fuel as you can by also going as fast as you possibly can too, because when you slow down those seconds, yes, you gain valuable amounts of fuel saved, but sometimes people will look at it in the day and go, man, if we'd have just stayed full throttle and ran the whole race wide open, we possibly could have ran that group down that saved that fuel and went that much slower.
As making a pit stop, as a group of drivers again did not pit under that caution. It's going to be Kevin S. McDonald in the 94 making a solo pit stop, but some of the main drivers a note to watch out for. Keith Ayers in the 42 did not pit under our first yellow. Evan Fuqua did not pit. Colin Trebass, Mike Kelly, as well as Derek McDonald did not pit. They've been out there for the full 44 laps. And Zach, yes, they were able to save a little bit of fuel under our pacing, but they've got to hit pit road here very shortly as we are crossing over to the halfway point of this race.
Fully agree. Yeah, these are the ones that are going to be much more worried. You look at like you said, the Keith Ayers there in that 5th position. You also got Evan Fuqua Colin Trabas, Eli LaProsa, Mike Kelly, and also Derek McDonald, who is outside that second group, so or his first group. So we'll see when they kind of fold and have to come down, because I think that's going to be a telltale sign of what our fuel kind of will be based off of them. But more or less, I think you're going to see the other drivers look to stretch it as far as possible. That's where it's going to cut out these guys who have not pit early. This is going to be the worst possible thing for them, because they're going to have a minimal amount of cars when they come to pit road.
Well, that last lap, it was Derek McDonald and Mike Kelly hitting pit road this time. Watch out for Keith Ayers as well as Trey Bass. They both over the radio said they are pitting this time, and they're in the middle of this lead pack. We'll see how efficiently they can duck down low, fan out, and there we go. Two drivers ducking to the inside. Can't see it on that camera. Oh, no! Ayers spun around by the 7. Oncoming traffic trying to scatter around, and oh, no! Contact made, and big for McCaffrey as well. I believe that was the 27 that went for a ride of Kip Easley.
And here comes the second group. They hopefully navigate well, and they do. So luckily no contact being made there. But yeah, it looks like Eric Schaefer getting into the 42 of Keith Ayers. They're coming to pit road, who, a little bit less aggression from one driver, more aggression from another, kind of equates to them getting into one another.
And the field just coming on in, but it's just wild. I know for the 7, he's been blinking quite a bit, and there could have been a moment where you just never saw the 42.
Very possible. I'd seen that blinking too, Sam. It was definitely happening there frequently, but we'll see how this kind of shakes out. As look at the runs some of these guys get when they're in line like this as they're heading down to 3 and 4. And there you see the blinking happening from the 7. So he definitely is having some network issues, so to say, there. But right now, off of 4, you're going to see these guys. It's going to be the 42 who first ducks off the pit road. And remember, he didn't pit like we were talking about. And you're going to see the Little Caesars car from behind, unfortunately, clip that right rear, spin the 42 across the track. And that's what's going to bring us to yellow flag.
And then next car's in line going to be the 29 of Devin McCaffrey, who's 13 laps down, as well as Kip Easley. They make contact, which that will ship the 29 down up to the outside wall, and extra damage for a vehicle that was already 13 laps down and in pit road getting repairs done. That could be the evening over for a driver that was just trying to putter along, as that was your BG Graphics caution flag being thrown as we're looking over our G-Stone Motors replay, and now everyone hits pit road. No doubt about it. Zach, this is most likely the final pit stop of the evening.
That is for sure, Sam. I think you won't see many drivers here on pit road after this, unless they have to get some damage repair, because this should put them right in the window to make it to the end. And you can see right there, the cool thing about now is we actually have to wait on gasoline to get these cars filled up. As you saw Kevin D. Brown, they dropped the jack and they wait about another 2 seconds before they go, because of how fast they can change tires now with the new updated pit stops.
It is so interesting how things have evolved and made it a lot more fun for us to try to calculate now on who took tires and who didn't and what the fuel numbers are like. But after pit stops are over, it's Mike Kelly. They'll be the lead driver, with Evan Fuqua, who already made pit stops under green flag conditions. Then the caution flag came out, so that's what allows them to stay out front and keep their track position, which is awesome for them. Anthony M. Calatoni going to be in third, with Kevin D. Brown, Chad Coleman, and Josh Parker going to be the rest of your top 6. And good report from broadcast in the production booth. The weather cell, at least part of it is now past, which means that the major worry, cross your fingers, knocking on some wood, much better now. We'll see if anything else pops up moving forward, but at least the cell that we were very concerned about has passed, and now it's a little bit more focus mode, I think, for a whole group now us up in the booth.
Yeah, that definitely helps when you got that comfort of knowing that stuff's gone. So great for that, for our producer, of course, Robert. But man, I'm saying this is definitely worked out well for Mike Kelly, who, he probably was thinking when he came to pit road there, this is not going to be a good situation with the wreck, but it works out. He's going to have the lead of this race.
Going to have the lead, and now the rest of the field's got a question. Do we top off? And yes, they do. I was kind of curious about it because, looking back at that first caution when it came out, it was around a 7 laps into the run when that caution came out. A lot of drivers pitted on lap 9 to 10. And a lot of the field was questioning if they could really stretch the fuel out as long. They only went about 45 laps. And there was a lot of concern in the voices of drivers on if they could make it on fuel. So this could still turn into a little bit of what current NASCAR is, of fuel saving. And how do drivers want us fuel save as the games are already played right now? Drivers are clutching up, running the apron as they're trying to get in line in the right positioning. But a lot of drivers are also trying to find ways to save fuel.
That they are. This is going to change the whole aspect because, you know, more or less thinking about it now, I do believe a rough number around this should be about 40 laps of fuel that you can go. That would make sense too. You know, we were coming there around 46, 45 there. We had the 7 laps of caution, of course. That allowed those drivers to get to that position. Now, right here, you have to be able to make it another 42 laps when we come across this line here. So that is going to be a strong distance to make. I think if anything, we'll see the lap times possibly be about a second, maybe a half a second slower here, Sam, throughout this run.
How quick do you want to go forward? How patient can you be? And if you're Mike Kelly as well as Mike Kelly for sure, and I'm also looking at the 39 of Trey Bass, how aggressive are you willing to be in the draft? Do you even want to be a lead driver at this point if you're the 22? Imagine he wants to get in line quickly and try to find ways to save fuel. But caution is concluded. All that's left for us is get back to green flag racing. Pace cars head into pit road. Your 802 Next Gen Elite Series Race 12. The Firecracker 225 from Daytona International Speedway is back to green flag action. It's Calatoni on the outside. But all we're seeing is Mike Kelly and Tyler Humphrey looking strong. Grant Humphrey ducks down low. And Calatoni, no friends, no allies, and he's stuck to the outside.
Fuel saving. How are you going to play this out? This is all going to start now with, of course, this green flag. Also noted from that last time, Scott Sidley, because he was leading that group, he's back on the lead lap. And same, I believe, for Brandon T. Banks.
Looking at a few drivers that topped off. Again, Kevin D. Brown, Coleman, Parker, 12th on back, all decided to top up on fuel, so they feel a lot more comfortable than they can take off and go. And we're going to be seeing a huge shakeup on speed because we got drivers going 3 wide. A lot on the inside are fuel saving. Those that are pushing through the middle, that's being led by the 93. They are on full go mode. They want to take the lead now and be in control of it. This field's going slow or fast. They want to be the drivers up front.
This is where it gets weird. You know, you have people who are on different, agendas like I talked about earlier. So let's see how this works out. Brown them topped off. Maybe this gives him the feeling that he has that ability to use a little bit more fuel right now in this scenario, get some track position, and then wait. I kind of like that thought process because we saw last time he was able to run in second in line for majority of that run while leading the race with a lap car ahead of him. That was probably more or less a fuel-saving maneuver from him also.
And just like that, from 12th to second place and challenging up front, Kevin D. Brown, Coleman, Parker, and also throw in a couple of other drivers into the mix. This is a wild batch that is changed up here tonight. And that is the one looking strong, but I'm looking out for the drivers that are a little bit outside. It's a big shuffle from the 22. That's going to jostle the inside line. Everyone's trying to scatter to get back into the middle groove. Whoa, a big little wiggle there from Kelly that just ruined all the momentum as now everyone's trying to find a spacing of the runs that go forward.
I'll tell you what, all it takes is one caution to make all that fuel saving get thrown out the window. So these drivers definitely are thinking about that. If that yellow plays out, they know it's going to be game on from there for the end. But right now, I think everybody's still a little bit tender, doesn't want to use the fuel, doesn't want to be in position to use too much, because if you're 1 to 2 laps short here, you're going to be wanting to save that advantage here early to be able to have something at the end of the race to get back up front.
We talked about drivers that were just wanting cautions to get back in the race. Here's Scott Simley, who dramatically needed a caution to get back in the mix. Is Logan Troyer stuck on the apron, finally able to find an opening to get back in line. Big checkup on the inside. That's going to be causing a lot of drivers will have to hold on. Dickinson going to be the main driver who finds space. Luckily, drivers behind him backed off. But those massive checkups on the inside are going to be a big thing to worry about moving forward, with drivers trying to save fuel. Looking at lap times, we're already seeing the leaders 1 second off of their fastest times. We are in fuel saving mode, which this is a very dangerous thing for those drivers in the mid pack and further on back that are not expecting these massive checkups into the corner.
You're exactly right, Sam. It stacks things up so much when everybody's running about 75% to half throttle around this place. It just stacks things up that much more. Everybody's able to get that much closer, and then you got different people in different agendas, of course, trying to push, some trying to save. It just equates to big issues. It's like being in a traffic jam, in rush hour traffic at that time of day. So it is definitely annoying sometimes as a driver, but you got to watch out for those checkups because they could be the end of your night.
And seeing, talking about other recovery drivers, in the second pack, you had Tanner Tallarico in the 82. He was one of the lead drivers in the second pack that was way off speed. He's now leading on the outside, but Rob Lowell in the 21, not able to stay with the draft. He is a lost time, and currently, based off what I just saw there in the trial, he is not even mentally in this race right now. With the fact that he hit the apron, I've been there multiple times when you're on your own and there is no help around you. You kind of get stuck in La La Land, just hoping for a caution at that point. There ain't much you can do about it.
Old McDonald there in the 94, he went way up the racetrack there in front of those guys. Luckily, he gathers it up, but everybody going to try to sweep by here 3 wide by that 94, and we'll see how well this works out. But again, just different things going on. I saw a big run there from a few of those guys. Look, now you're going to have a driver sticking it 3 wide there in the 67 up the middle. So, again, with everybody lifting a little bit, it allows a little bit more of these runs and a little bit of action to play out.
And also seeing, that's Ty Dickinson in that 67, just trying to find a way to sneak his way on through. But the 94 holding strong, and McDonald on the outside. Finally, Dickinson's able to get to the inner groove and hoping this is the lane that will move forward. But Zach, I'm worried for the lead pack. A lot of shoving for the first and second car on that outside groove, and that's going to be Tallarico as well as Keith Ayers. And there's just a miscommunication going on between those two drivers, where Ayers wants to push that 82, but every time he does, the 82 just makes a late surge to the inside, outside, and those little quick movements is throwing off Ayers whenever he tries to give a bump, and it's checking up that outside lane, and almost a couple of dangerous bumps that almost have taken out everybody in this lead pack.
You can see everybody kind of just putting along here, but that outside line getting a little bit of shove there from Brett Hahn, the 42 at Ayers. Now, like you said, coming up to the back bumper of that 82 of Tanner Tallarico, and we'll see how these pushes work. I mean, all it takes is a little bit of miscommunication, a little bit of a sidestep from one driver, a little bit of the other way for the other one, and next thing you know, multiple drivers involved in a big one because we have an incident right here at the front end of the field. So let's hope they can make it through it. Right now is definitely nervous times, even with the lap times as low as they are.
Yeah, this 42, Keith Ayers, is in a very tough spot right now. Wants to be the lead driver, wants to get as many points as possible, is the driver 16th in points, just one position out of the top 15 to race for the chase. That driver that he's trying to run down, Steve Ritter, 14th in points, Rob Lowell, 15th in points. Two drivers that have had terrible running so far here tonight. And right now, this could be a big evening for the 42 that has no top 5s, no top 10s, no win. And could tonight be a special one for Keith Ayers that's trying to make that surge to make it into the chase, as the 42 will drop low. And that'll put Brett Hahn, who will be the new leader on the outside row.
Huge here for that 42 to get to lead some laps out here at this point of the race. And now Hahn from on that outside, he's going to lead that lane. And you want to lead some laps, but I tell you this much, you don't want to be out there for too long, Sam. We know how much fuel you burn when you're pushing the pack and breaking the air in front of everybody. It is a position you want to be quickly out of. Is now Hahn. Will he drop low as he's tipping the lead, or will he stay up high? It looks like for the time being, so to stay up in the high lane.
He's on that outer groove. And, I'm looking at the drivers that were once in control of this race, of Calatoni, D. Brown, as well as Coleman. They've all been split up. Calatoni now going to be the driver third to the outside, as Steve Tucker with a late dashing move to the inner groove to try to get a push from Ayers. moving forward on the inside. But the 84 third car in line trying to save some fuel. It looks like for Kevin D. Brown, Parker, and Coleman, they finally got in line on the outside. Well, they're further on back, just trying to save a little bit of fuel before they start making some big moves. And it looks like now's the time. The 93, excuse me, trying to force the issue in the middle groove and trying to push that 82 forward. But I don't know if that's the vehicle that you want to help. Go forward is a quick squeeze, a tap, and there's the contact, and there's the wiggle, and there we go. That was the worry. There's the contact. Multiple drivers go around. The worry is the drivers come back up the track, and they will, and there's the caution flag being thrown.
Well, we can take fuel saving, throw it out the window. That is a good thing for, I think, everybody all around, that we won't have to worry about them saving fuel anymore. But, man, yeah, Kevin D. Brown put himself in a weird situation there, Sam. I don't know about that one.
No clue, but we take ourselves here a BG Graphics replay of this scenario. The main driver of note to watch out for will be this bump drafting on the middle of your screen. And then the 11, Chris Progard, acquired damage for the 11 machine. Not sure what happened to him, as we're taking the G-Stone Motors replay in 3 wide. And multiple drivers with the big no-nos going on of bumps that didn't feel right, drivers reacting wrong. There's a hard contact to Simley that goes up into the 11. That was a bizarre one to see, as I believe that was Kip Easley that ran into that driver.
Definitely some bizarre moments. Yeah, I mean, I get the, you want to get your track position back, the aggressive moves there through the middle to try that, but, I'm just... The pushing through the center of the corner here, with still 40 laps to go in the middle, 3 wide. I just think you put yourself at such a risk to be involved in it. I mean, we saw Brown, he only caught a little bit of damage from that, but that could have ended your night. I mean, we saw Whitley. I mean, he was wrong place, wrong timing for his earlier, but it just shows you, any little contact can, in your race. So when you put yourself in those positions and, you kind of do it yourself, I think it's always a one you got to look back and go, I maybe could have done a little better job there.
And we always talk about how the early portion of the race is so important to show your cards, kind of show your competition. I'm a driver you can trust to push. I'm a driver you can trust that's going to push you. And we just saw there in about 5 to 10 laps, the 82 did not look comfortable being pushed at any portion of that run when he had Keith Ayers on the back bumper. And it kind of was building up to, well, we kind of can sense if he gets pushed by anybody, it could be dangerous. Ayers then coming up didn't help either on that scenario. But here we go. Topping off with fuel are going to be a few drivers. Some deciding to stay out to keep track position. That's going to be Mike Kelly, Tyler Humphrey, Grant Humphrey, as well as Trey Bass, as well as Fuuka going to be staying out. I mean, this is kind of shocking. There are a lot of drivers, at least 6, opting not to pit for fuel and tires.
Definitely puts you in a situation where, I mean, you can make it to the end, I think, with, this caution. It does kind of put them in a situation to be, I think, all right, not have to save fuel, especially they were already saving a little bit before. But I do like putting some new fuel in this car, just not only for the reason of, having the fuel, but in my opinion, a lot of times you having that fuel in the rear of these cars can actually get the rear end a little closer to the racetrack, get you a little bit more downforce, also get the spoiler out of the air a little bit. That's going to give you a little less drag. I just think it's a benefit to always have that full tank of fuel in the back of these race cars.
As we're watching Mike Kelly, he is clutching and saving fuel to try to save as much as possible. Again, he was on the limit of making it to the official lap 90. I think pitting now helps you for the long run, just in case we go into overtime. I think that's kind of the big positive of pitting now, was it was going to make it where you didn't have to worry about making a pit stop if we have a caution that throws us into overtime. But as the field's getting ready for your admin box 1 to green, we also want to say thank you to the amazing sponsors of the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. First and foremost, we want to say thank you to G-Stone Motors. Whether you're looking for a work-ready truck or performance vehicle, trust the team that supports racing in the Northeast for generations. Go visit G-Stone Motors in the Vermont Middlebury today. If you are looking, remember, when you're looking, you're not just a customer, your family. We also want to say thank you to BG Graphics. if you have head on over to Facebook at BG Graphics, that's with graphics with 2 X's at the end, you can find yourself getting a great race winning poster, team logo, schedule layout, or race car design. And if you mention that you heard about BG Graphics here from Freaky Fast Broadcasting, you can get yourself 10% off on your next order. And finally, want to say thank you to the 802 iRacing League podcast. If you'd like to hear more about all the other amazing leagues the 802 iRacing Leagues put on, you can go listen to the podcast where you got Brandon Grand as well as Rob Lowell doing a weekly breakdown of all the different leagues that are ran as they bring in special guests. Sometimes it's broadcasters, most of the time it's other drivers, to give you a little bit of a closer look at the behind the scenes of the 802 iRacing Leagues. You can go listen to all podcasts from YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and as well Amazon Music. If you want to listen to it live, head on over to YouTube at 802 iRacing League Podcast. Well, those are your sponsor reads. Zach, any final thoughts? Because honestly, cautions could continue on from here, or we could race it to the end.
This is, I think now with the no fuel saving, I think this is setting up to be a little bit more of an interesting run to the end here. We were going to have it more stacked up, of course, with them fuel saving, but I think now you're going to see a lot more aggressive moves to try to get some track position back. I know a lot of these drivers know that being up front here in these stock cars at this speedway is actually super valuable. You would think you can go through the field, but you need to be, in my opinion, in that front 8 cars if you want to have an opportunity late. So I think a lot of people are going to be vying for those positions.
We have ourselves a couple of drivers out of this race. Chris Procard, Steve Ritter, Devin McCaffrey, Christian Angel, Mark Whitley, Joe Hudson. We've got 31 drivers out on track, but only 25 on the lead lap. How many can get into victory lane? Only one, but let's find out who will be that one to win here this evening as we're back to green flag action with Mike Kelly, Tyler Humphrey. Your Firecracker 225 is back underway as Kelly as well for Tyler Humphrey getting in line, dropping down low, and you got the Humphreys in line, second and third on that inner groove.
It's always good to see family members working together. Well, they definitely have that bond, so to say, for sure when it comes to working with each other. That it may be what you need when it comes down to the end. But Kelly still leading the way. But look at this. First car to bounce to the outside. It's going to be the 38, Chad Coleman. He's going to have Josh Parker there go with him. Look at Steve Tucker gliding his way up into 34, up into this front group. Everybody's starting to try to get to the front end.
A huge run from the 6 machine of Josh Barker that just didn't want to wait for himself. Brett Hahn! Oh no, that's going to be Trey Bass outside. There goes Parker. Late block hesitations, and through the grass go multiple drivers. Back up the course, going to be the 26, and that is going to bring out a caution flag. And there we go. Stack them all up. Now let's try it again. It actually was going to be Ty Dickinson, that was involved as well in this thing. And Zach, it's just... you're trying to defend those big runs that some of these other drivers have kind of figured out how to build, but you can't block by just forcing yourself into the outside wall like we're going to see here.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a tough ordeal. You see right there to 38, he's going to jump out to the outside. This is where they go with their run here. Now they're trying to make something happen, of course. And then you'll have Trabas, who is going to be in the 39. You're going to see that's the car that makes the move to cover off this 38, and they're going to be coming off the corner here. Trabas sees them coming. He's going to squeeze that 30 up into the wall. The 26, he darts down because he sees what's happening. Unfortunately for him, though, the 67's already there of Ty Dickinson. That spins those two around into the grass, and then from there, everybody just kind of darts left and right, and luckily, majority of the field makes it through kind of unscathed, so to say.
Yeah, I mean, that could have been a lot worse for all drivers involved. Certainly a wild one, as the field has their moments. So, I mean, these are one of the worst blocks you want to see from drivers. I think inexperience might have hit here for the 39, because when you make this move here, and that's when you hope, okay, we're just going to go to the middle. I blocked too late. Well, then just commits to the wall is there for me to be taken, and Parker, once again, Zach, late in a race, and the 26, who was mounting the way forward, finds his way heading to the back again.
Tough for Parker there, who, again, he was kind of making the move based off the two ahead of him, bouncing off the wall there with the block, and that can make things a little bit hairy, and it just scared him more or less, to make sure he didn't want to be involved in that. And next thing you know, he's getting hit by the car below him, who, Dickinson can't predict that the 26 is going to make that maneuver either. So just unfortunate, like you said, timing of the block for Trabas. He's going to go back and look at that one and say, that was definitely my bad for sure on that one. But those will be learning maneuvers for later in this race. And, this caution does do is it's going to help our leaders of Mike Kelly, Tyler Humphrey, Grant Humphrey, who did not pit under that last caution. That's going to help them a ton for making the fuel a lot more doable, in my opinion.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, we'll bring up our race report for you to see how the race has been so far. We appreciate everyone that watches us live and those that come back to watch later on. We've had 4 cautions, counting this one that we just had. We've had ourselves 5 different leaders and lead changes. We've had 9 different leaders, 12 different lead changes, but a majority of the race under green flag conditions. Almost got green flag pit stops, but a little bit of a caution when we started that kind of changed things up. We're missing over 6 drivers from tonight's race, but here's your top 5 currently. Mike Kelly, Tyler Humphrey, Grant Humphrey, Steve Tucker, and Evan Fuqua. And what makes some of these drivers so impressive is all 5 drivers are up in position. The only driver that qualified up front and has stayed up front was supposedly Steve Tucker based off his qualifying position. But we got to remember, the 34 started on pit road, needed a caution, got a caution. So technically, all these drivers starting outside of the top 10 here this evening and having a great job recovering for themselves.
Super impressive, man. It's always something you'll take when it comes to a situation, like Daytona. You really want to be able to go forward, and that's what a lot of these drivers have been able to do. They've been gaining big positions from where they started, and that's the beauty of plate racing, man. You never know. You could be starting on pit road like a Steve Tucker, and next thing you know, you could be in victory lane here for that 34. So that would be an awesome sight to see for him. It all takes timing of just things to play out the way you can, and hey, that's racing for you.
Also, big story for the 74. You can see that in front bumper. It is still caved in, but still able to run up front. It's been incredible to see how Evan has been able to maximize as much as possible with such a hindrance on that vehicle. But the admin box 1 green has been given out to the field. We are going green this time by, it's going to be on lap 69 of 90. When we get back to green flag action. But for those that are able to, we'd love to see you out in chat. Who are you rooting for? I know for the Harpoon Designs, Brentley usually would be out in chat, but both of his drivers out of this thing. Curious if anyone else is out there, and who are you rooting for on wanting to see into victory lane? Is it a team? Is it one driver? Who do you think is going to get it done here this evening? As Kelly, Humphrey, Tucker, Fuqua, your top 5, with going to be seeing Calazzoni, Coleman, Trey Bass, Hahn, Barker, your top 10. Ready to get rolling. And once again, Zach, the question always has to be thrown, I feel like, for every restart here on out. Is this the final one of the night?
Yeah, well, that is always the grand question when you come here is, will we see another yellow or will we see it run to the end? I mean, we've seen crazy things here, 802. We've literally at New Hampshire a week ago had 1 yellow flag. So don't put it past this group. This is a great group of drivers here, but I can tell you one thing. They're all going to be going for it because they know the competition level here is so high at 802. This may be your only chance of getting a victory this season, so you better use it while you can.
As we are about to get back to green flag action, again, we've got more racing action next week for the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. We're back to Darlington for our next course that we had to. Don't want to miss out on going to one of the classics of NASCAR racing. But here tonight, we're back to green flag action. Lap 69 is the start of 90, and it's Mike Kelly and Humphrey going to be your front 2. But who's willing to bounce to the outside? Who wants to go 3 wide? Get themselves up front now and immediately. And leader of that outside group going to be Steve Tucker finding Calazzoni, and that's a pairing that you'll want to get moving with as well. Seeing Coleman, watch out. That outside lane is ready to go forward as they exit out of turn number 2.
Look at Steve Tucker down the back straightaway from starting on pit road into 3 and 4. He's going to lead this race on lap 69 of 90 here as he drops low in front of the 22 Mike Kelly. But look at this. Calatoni says, you thought you were going to lead a lap? No, sir. I'm getting the push from the 38 of Chad Coleman. Calatoni to the lead.
And one driver that's making a lot of moves there. That was just 3 wide. Rob Lolzak, he is inside of the top 15. The 21 is making some big moves, trying to get forward as efficiently as possible. He's had a lot of runs so far here tonight that bounced him out of this lead pack that he has lost ground to as the 39. Now going to be stuck in what we call the sucker hole in the middle pack, going backwards. Also going to be seeing Kevin D. Brown. He's losing a little bit of ground for himself. And up front, Calatoni takes the top position with Coleman, but losing a couple of friends on the way up there.
Yeah, he definitely did. Lost a few helpers, but look at this. Brown back into the mix already. He went up the middle 3 wide on Johnny Parker, who dropped back to 6. But it's the 34 of Tucker getting the shove from the 93 down the front straightaway, and they're coming with a head of steam on the outside.
They certainly are, and that's going to be seeing a couple of teammates that want to work with one another further on back. They're outside of the top 15, but want to get forward. I'm watching out for Barker as well, for Rob Lowell, if they can find any way to go forward. But right now, hopping on board with Kevin D. Brown. He's trying to work with Tucker to go forward. Behind them, going to be seeing Logan Troyer as well as Hahn. And oh no, there he goes. It's going to be the 34 to the inside group. Big slide for Tucker as well for Grant Humphrey. They both go sliding, but no caution is thrown with 20 to go.
I was about to say, that's not going to be yellow with those two way off the racing surface, but Tucker and the Humphrey there, tough position for both of them. Now it's going to be Calatoni leading the way as they've dropped to the bottom side with the help of Coleman. As Kelly stays there in third. Can Mike Kelly get his first one of the regular season? We saw him in the preseason be so strong. We thought maybe he'd compete for multiple victories. This may be his best opportunity here tonight.
I mean, Mike Kelly, when we look at that preseason stats, of the 3 races that were ran in the preseason, he won 2 of them, and he had a 1.2 average finishing position during that run. It was an insane stat line. We knew he wasn't going to carry over immediately of all those stat lines into the actual season because we had so many big names that were joining in. A lot of fast drivers have joined throughout the season, but the luck just never was there for the 22. Could that be changing here tonight? You've also got names that have struggled all season long that tonight could be the night. Yeah, maybe if you're this far back, you might feel like there's a wall of drivers, there's nowhere to go. But Jason Ayrson, I mean, this 64, if he could keep his nose out of trouble and everyone wrecks in front of him, I mean, he could steal the win still.
No doubt, Sam. We've seen it before. Don't put it past anybody on this lead lap. It can happen, folks. We've seen where the whole field will wreck and a guy from 20th on back will come out and steal the victory. So don't give up yet. If your driver is farther back, it is definitely still go time here for them. And I tell you what, Daytona, anything can play out in super ways where a wreck is waiting around every single foot of this racetrack.
I mean, yes, you have your favorites. You got the teammates that are working with one another. You got drivers that have been allies that have looked really good moving forward and have been up front all night long. It's Josh Parker in the grass. Big whoa up for the 26. It's going to be asking for a black flag to be removed as he got a bad exit out of pit road. As he now is still attached to the pack, which is pretty impressive to see after going through the grass the way that he did. But look at this group, Zach. Over 26 drivers still attached to the draft and in a chance to win here tonight with 17 laps to go.
It's definitely a situation, and for some reason right now getting a flag here for Josh Parker, so don't know exactly.
They haven't removed it yet. That was when he crossed over. Technically, it was an illegal pit exit that the 26 had. He has requested for that penalty to be removed, which it should get removed by the admin rules. All drivers can request for a black flag to be removed. Then that black flag removal will be reviewed after the race. If they have deemed that that should not have been removed, then that driver will be heavily penalized for future races. But that black flag still has not been removed, and they're concerned because if we don't see this 26 get that black flag removed now, he could get disqualified from this race in the next lap or two, which is he's panicking over the radio trying to get it removed.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm leaving this. You know, He's got not much time, but there it goes. The clear will come through. So is Josh Parker saved by that? They'll have to review that for after this event. But man, yeah, that was a scary time for him. I know the more laps you click off with that black flag, you sit there and think, when will it finally DQ me?
It did get removed. We also got a little bit more of a driver report over the radio from the 26. He said that he drove down into the grass because he thought the pack was about to wreck and thought that was going to be the safest place to be. So not bad for wreck avoidance and staying with the pack. Now he's got 15 laps to try to carve his way forward, or you got the idea of just sit in the back and wait, because there's always a chance of another big one, another wreck looming around every corner and every bend here this evening as they are staying side by side. It's calmed down since about 2 laps ago. But Zach, 14 laps to go. Each lap that passes, the intensity builds. And this question then has to be popped up as Calatoni goes high, Coleman stays low. Which lane and which driver is willing to force it 3 wide to make this thing a little bit more interesting?
That's for sure, Sam. It's going to happen at some point. Now, the tough thing is usually the third lane quickly dies out here in this next gen. You don't see it form and kind of ride there for a while. It kind of has to be a split-second moment, get the passes done that you're going to do in that third lane, and then get back to one of these second lanes, because it just always seems to really kill any run you have if you stay out there for too long. So let's see who's willing to do it. But right now, again, plenty of time left as they're coming to 13 laps to go here at Daytona.
13 laps to go on board with the 55 of Brandon T. Banks. At one moment was part of the 4th group that was about to go a lap down about 40 laps ago. But no longer is the 55 worrying about that. Now it's, where do I want to place myself in these later portions? You talked about it, Zach. You kind of want to be in the top 8. You want to be in those first 8 lanes for a chance to maybe bounce to the outside, go to the middle. They have to have options and opportunities. Otherwise, you're just going to sit and hope that your fate is sealed in the right lane to move forward. And right now, this 55 has options to go, but they're about to close in quickly as we're coming up to 12 laps to go. Calatoni and Brown have been the 2 control drivers up front. Somebody's got to find a getaway around this 84, because Calatoni has been in complete control so far, and Hahn wants to be that driver that shakes things up.
That he does. Brett Hahn here up to the outside line leading the way, and you got Garan there in that second car and the one on the outside. So great job for them. But look at Kevin Brown. He's shoving Calatoni way out here. He might get his teammate a Coleman here along with them also. This might be the move for the 93 and the 38. We'll see if they elect to go out, but it looks like for the time being, we'll stay with the 84 Calatoni, who, like you said, having good control of this race here. He wants to be in this position for later.
And these 3 drivers have been up front for majority of this race, all qualified inside of the top 10 and have been inside of the top 5 for most of the night. And they continue to be in control. I think the main drivers a note, the 22, that's Mike Kelly, the 9 of Tyler Humphrey, as well as going to see the 76. Will they be the 3 drivers that are willing to build up a run and just dart to the outside? I think they're the 3 that could get it done. But it all banks on that 76, excuse me, on how well can he stay attached to the 9 machine if they go high.
That would be the question for sure. Is look, the 22 of Kelly, he's looking for maybe an opportunity to go high. He'll now have the help of the 9, Tyler Humphrey, as now the 39, Trabas, comes up into the 4th spot there. And look at Brown. He sees an opportunity. He sees the outside line coming. He wants to jump to the outside, and now he'll jump right back to the bottom side to lead the way.
And that was a perfect defensive move. Just move high, kill the momentum, utilize the momentum to get into the lead, and then drop back down low. Now Calatoni is going to utilize the same exact run. He's hoping the 22 is going to give him a big shot so then he can move forward, but they're going backwards, and Zach now sneaking into 3rd. It's going to be the 39 machine, the 55, those that were willing to sit and wait on the inside. They're moving forward.
Yeah, right now, Calatoni just not going forward. They are stacked up, the 22 shoving, the 9 shoving, but they just don't have momentum up top here as the bottom is just surged forward here. And this has created a 3rd lane where Josh Parker leads the way in that lane. Now the 22 jumps back to the bottom as, look at this, Taylor Talrico, he's jumped up to the outside also. So big movements and shakeups here going on.
Tallarico now going to be having Kelly trying to give a push, but Kelly decides to opt out of that one, trying to work on the outside groove. In third lane will be Josh Parker. He was hoping to see Calatoni maybe move up there and a few others. Not going to be the case. That third line disappears, and they'll shift into that middle pack. Now seeing Kelly trying to find a way to just pick off driver after driver. He'll now be the new driver leading the outside groove, but up front, Kevin D. Brown, Coleman, two drivers that have been in control and up front with 9 laps to go. They're starting to see some new contenders bounce into the outside. It's going to be seeing Banks in the 55.
And it is Banks here in the outside lane. It's going to try to take advantage of that run, and he will have a massive one at that. They get to the quarter panel of the 38 of Coleman. Will Brown block? He stays low as now Banks pulls alongside even as they go into 1 and 2, as the help from the outside of Kipps is just too much as they are shoving right here.
I mean, Kip Easley has been a magnet for the second half of these cautions. He's been involved in, oh no, there goes McDonald. He goes down to the inside. Big contact for the 94. He's now going to be out of this thing. Other drivers trying to get rolling, but the 94 will he take the tow or continue to roll on the front pack? They're going to be 3 wide, battling for 5th place of Kelly. Also going to be seeing Tallarico as well as Banks fighting side by side as Banks is trying to pull away, but these drivers that are 3 wide, they are side drafting so hard, they're losing touch to the top 4. They're pulling away.
That they are. That top 4 is getting a little bit of a gap here. They need to settle this out quickly if you want to have an opportunity. We saw this happen at Atlanta, where the cars behind got 2 to 3 wide and stacked up in the final few laps. They allowed the front group to get away, but I tell you what, Sam, they luckily have solved it somewhat quickly as the first cars in that inside line are starting to catch back up.
Lap cars being caught, going to be Steve Tucker as well as Grant Humphrey. They're trying their best to not go a lap down, but hoping for a caution flag to wave. Now building up the speed, building up the momentum. The top 4 no longer are alone. They've now got a pack of drivers that are getting mixy with them, as now going to be seeing drivers. Do you go high? Do you go low? And it's Kip Easley going to have Tallarico with them. They're working the outside groove. Lap down drivers going to be staying low. That means everyone's got to shift up a lane or 2 to give space and give way. But it's Brandon T. Banks in the 55 leading with 6 laps to go. But he's building such a gap, Zach. He better be careful because that 93 and 38 might make a move on him.
Wow, Steve Tucker throwing big blocks on our leader here. That is wild to see. There's lap car. He's trying to stay on the lead lap, I guess. But man, oh man, that is aggressive. There's Banks giving the shove, but now it's going to be the teammates on the outside trying to go around.
Watch out for Logan Troyer in the green machine. He's finding his way, being stuck in the middle. Luckily finds space to drop down low, but he almost was trying to take Kip Easley out accidentally with how much they were squeezing on the outside. Still going to be 3 wide with the driver feeding backwards. That's going to be Matt Taylor in the 15. We haven't really talked about here tonight, but he's losing touch. But that block from Tucker really jostled everybody. And now Brandon T. Banks, it's the lap down drivers that are helping the 55 move forward, and now it's going to be seeing Logan Troyer in 2nd place, but they're mixy. They're going back and forth, and it is looking like trouble as they head into 3.
Yeah, Banks got kind of shoved below the yellow line there from a hit from the 48, and that kind of got him called. Oh, they're wrecking.
They're wrecking behind, and honestly, it was for the best. More drivers starting to pile into the backside, but they were closing in on lap cars that were on the inside, on the outside, and they were 3 wide. That caution was needed, and there's we find the 84 of Calatoni.
Tough break for him, but luckily, car's not too hurt. He's still in the lead lap. He'll have an opportunity and a chance here as we go back and look at it, but man, it was stacked up. The lap cars were playing havoc there coming to the end of this thing, and man, I talked about Tucker's aggressive block to stay on the lead lap. Well, it works out for him because he will stay on that lead lap and not even have to take the lucky dog, which will put you at the tail end along this line. So huge for that 34 team, but let's see what happens here. Again, it's just going to stack up a lot here with some 3 wide racing, and I think Calatoni unfortunately going to get clipped here because of the cars up higher here coming down into him.
2 drivers require damage, and there's the contact to Eli Raposa that will ship him to the outside groove, and another contact between the 9 and the 46. That's Tyler Humphrey, as both the 46 of Raposa and Tyler Humphrey require damage. Their days most likely done here this evening. And with all the jostling, with all the chaos in those final laps, Zach, it was Logan Troyer and going to be Tallarico that were the top two at time of caution. These were not the top two I had in my mind. I mean, I saw Logan Troyer trying some big moves that I'm shocked worked out. But this is going to be a bizarre one as the laps tick away. We are still in regulation, and based off the fact that we did not get the 1 to go indicator there, we're heading to overtime.
Does seem to be that way, and man, you know, with the lap cars all involved, it was so mixed up with who was leading what and who was in what position. You know, if it stayed that way, it was going to be an awkward finish for where these drivers were going to place themselves. So now with this yellow flag, it is really going to make things, I think, that much more spicy. And let's see. I mean, hey, it's been one to watch so far. And right now, with stacking them up, it's only going to make things a little bit more interesting because some of these teammates might get separated a little bit. Some of them might get together. It could very well play out for a few.
As we'll bring up the race report another time. I know we got a lot of new people joining in these final laps. Drivers that are out of this race. You got fans that are curious on how this thing's going to finish out. So far, that's going to be our 5th caution of the day. We've had 20 different lead changes, 11 different leaders. Primarily, most of the race has been under green flag conditions. But it has been a madhouse all here of late of drivers having big blocks, massive runs. And with the way that this race is coming to the end, we will be heading to overtime. Hasn't officially clocked over just yet, but once these drivers cross the line, they're going to be given the 1 to green, which will be our Admin Box 1 to green sponsor, where we will be seeing these drivers get prepared for overtime. Zach, 802, a little bit different for most leagues. Most leagues, they either have unlimited or 3 attempts. Here for 802, I believe we only have 2 attempts at overtime, so that's going to make things a little bit more compact on how aggressive you want to be on this first attempt compared to maybe the second one. That's going to be a lot more aggressive as the drivers are given the Admin Box 1 to green as they cross the line there. We are officially in overtime, and yes, it is official. Just 2 attempts if needed, but this could be the final restart of the night.
It very well could be, man. This is going to be go time, so to say. I mean, Logan Troyer, Tanner Tallarico, our front row here tonight, coming to possibly the end of this race. Who would have thought, man? That is great to see these two up here in this position. I mean, Troyer from 27th, Tallarico from 21st in qualifying. So just utilizing these super speedways, being at the right place at the right time, they're now going to be able to control their destiny a little bit. But let's see how that destiny works, man, because this is going to get aggressive. I think Brown in the 93, they're on the inside, and also Coleman, who all night have been hooked up together in that 38. I think they're going to be the first big players of how this shakes out.
I mean, Tanner Tallarico, just 1 start, and this season, this is his 2nd one. And these drivers are getting ready. Will it be one of the new drivers? Will it be a driver that's been here all season long? Or could we see an absolute barn burner of somebody that needs a critical good finish to find their way into the chase? This could be a race that changes so many drivers' seasons completely. And this could be your moment to shine for the 802 Next Gen Elite Series Season 1. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, we are in overtime. This will be our first attempt at overtime here this evening. All drivers will have 2 laps to go once we go green. If we get a caution under the first lap before taking the white flag, we will have ourselves heading to overtime attempt number 2. But if we cross the line after we initially go green and take the white flag, this race is official. There will be no yellows thrown. Our second attempt, the rules are a little bit different, but we'll talk about them if we get there. It's time to see who's winning the Firecracker 225 overtime attempt number 1. It's Troyer, Tallarico, and we are green here tonight for the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. Here we go, Zach. It's the 12 leading the charge down into 1, but Tallarico at the late charge as they go into the corner.
Troyer was separated from the 93 and the 38, but now they'll get connected here through the middle 1 and 2, but it's Banks hard connection for him to the back bumper of the 82 of Tallarico. We'll see down the back straightaway what line moves forward. They got 3 versus 2, but it looks like the outside lane is actually making the move now.
They're making the move, but who wants to go 3 wide? Will we stay 2 by 2? Banks wiggles high, wiggles low, and Tallarico going to be stay on that outside groove. Now going to do a late dive move to the inside. That's going to block off Troyer. Banks, though, with so much lost momentum, he's in trouble, fading back into the pack, but it's Tallarico, Troyer. They've got to hold and defend. Logan going to be seeing no help for himself as the 802 iRacing League podcast white flag is thrown. This race is official. Who's winning this sack? Because they're already wrecking into one.
Troyer takes out the 6 of Barker there, but we stay green, of course, because we're running into the end here, folks. The top 3 are starting to break away. Tallarico, Brown, Coleman. Who's going to fight first as the wrecks continue down the back straightaway?
We've got our favorites of Brown, Coleman sitting in 2nd and 3rd, but the underdog story, where will Derek McDonald go? Tallarico has been tossed to the side, but it's the 72. He'll work with Tallarico. He'll lose his momentum. Mike Kelly will go to the outside, but there's no one else to work with. Brown, Coleman, look in their mirror. They're all wrecking behind, and across the line, it's Kevin D. Brown winning the Firecracker 225.
Wow, man, Coleman almost got there. Great work between those two as teammates, but it was a strong fight to the end for him. Coleman almost edges out the 93, but Brown will be your victor.
All the moves, all the passes, you got to give credit to one driver and note. I'm looking at the 26 of Josh Parker, 5th place for the 26 machine as everyone else was wrecking into 1, off of 2, down into 3. Every portion of the track had some type of wreck happening. And across the line, it's the teammates that dominated all night long of Brown and Coleman that worked together and get it done at the end. Congratulations to the 93 team. I mean, Zach, Brown has been doing it all a lot here this season, but what a surge for himself. Joined midway through the season, and he has just been putting barn burner after barn burner down in another win for himself. It's his 2nd of the season.
Great for him, and he has been very, very strong at a lot of tracks, but here tonight, he was very aggressive with the moves, worked hard to get to the lead at all points, and it played off exactly, I think, the way him and his teammates thought.
Big shout outs to Tallarico getting their first top 10. Same for Derek McDonald. Ty Dickinson gets a top 10. Congratulations to all those drivers. Now, we're not done just yet. We've got ourselves the Riptide Radio post-race show. We'll talk to our top 3. Kevin D. Brown, Coleman, Mike Kelly. Do a little bit of breakdown of tonight's race and get you prepared for Darlington next week. But for us, we're going to step aside. When we come back, we'll talk to the drivers for the Riptide Radio post-race show. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting. You're watching the 802 Next Gen Elite Series as we get you prepared for the Riptide Radio post-race show. Race 12 is in the books as we head down to Victory Lane to talk to your Firecracker 225 victor, being Kevin D. Brown, as he was a part of a dominating group that was up front for majority of the night, but it's Kevin that gets it done in the 93 machine. Kevin, it's Sam and Zach up in the booth. I mean, what a race for yourself. You looked like you were in complete control for most of this evening. Didn't matter what lane you picked, you were going to make them move forward. How are you feeling getting the win here tonight by 11 one-thousandths of a second?
It feels pretty good. I was surprised going in here that me, Chad, and Josh were able to pretty much control a lot of the race. But it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed racing tonight.
Definitely a great race overall, Kevin, man. I mean, take us through there at the end. I mean, it was all breaking down, of course, there, but you guys made the great move there in 3 and 4. So take us through it.
Yeah, coming to the white, I told Chad, I was like, we're going to stick bottom here. Just stay bottom. And he's like, no, we need to go to top. And I was like, no, stay bottom. We're going to keep doing this until we come to like 3 and 4. And just like enough, we pushed them out and then came to 3 and 4. I got to his right rear and he was able to push me forward. I was surprised Chad didn't jump out sooner, because if he would have jumped out sooner, I think he would have got me at the line. But yeah, we stuck to it and finished 1-2.
You certainly did stick with it. I know you had one major scare in the middle of this race when you were pushing the 82 in the middle, and then there's a wreck around you. What was that moment like for yourself? Because I know it's hard to push other drivers that maybe you're not used to pushing, but what was that moment like when the guy you're pushing then is caught up in the wreck?
Yeah, it was scary. When it happened, I was like, well, boys, we're done. But we went in the pits, and it was only, I think, 30 seconds of damage, so it wasn't too bad. But overall, everybody that I pushed, they held a decent line. And I mean, like I said, I had a lot of fun racing here. It was a blast, honestly. That green flag run we had was so much fun.
Well, we're happy that you had a blast. I know we had a blast calling it at the end. Kevin, before we let you go, though, the floor's yours for any other shout-outs.
Yeah, of course. Wesley for painting this beautiful paint scheme. WW Diecast, check him out. 802, Rob, invited me to the league and putting the show on. Appreciate him. Of course, you guys love watching your broadcast. Y'all do probably the best work I've seen by far. So yeah, I can't wait to check that out, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for giving us such a show to call. As Kevin, that'll be your second one of the season. We hope to see you in Victory Lane more often moving forward, and good luck next week at Darlington.
Thanks, guys.
As we move from Victory Lane, we go down to second place as we go talk to Chad Coleman, who tried his best at the end to steal it. Was 11 one-thousandths of a second off at the very end there. Chad, yourself, as well as Kevin D. Brown and a few other guys, just dominated up front for most of this race. You tried to make the late move there late, but man, how are you feeling after your performance here tonight?
Oh, man, that was fun. We had a lot of fun doing that. It was me, Josh, me, Parker, and Kevin right there. And anytime we'd get hooked up, we'd just take off and fly. And then we ended up getting separated through some spins and different stuff. But luckily, me and Kevin came back together at the end of the race. Josh got close to getting back with us. But, man, at the end, me and Kevin were shouting different orders at each other, like where we thought we needed to go. And he could see, and I really couldn't. So I listened to him and just pushed him as hard as we could right there. And then I told him coming to the line, I was like, oh, I think I waited about a half a car length too long.
It definitely was really close there, Chad, man. But another strong, consistent run continued for you and your team. I mean, this it's going to be a good one, of course, with Whitley involved in that first wreck, taken out. How do you feel about for a points night and continuing this regular season run for maybe a regular season champion?
Yeah, that'd be nice. I know we were discussing it last week after New Hampshire, and that's what I was thinking last week. I don't wish any bad luck on anybody, but the bad luck that I had is what stretched that points lead out, and now I think we're even. So now we'll just go battle for it. Hopefully, both of us can have some decent luck on our side and race it out.
Well, we were kind of talking about how Daytona is kind of like that deep breath moment before you get to that last stages of this regular season. We got Darlington, Worldwide Technology, and Bristol. I know those are tough tracks for some drivers. Others, it's their comfort place. How are you feeling on the confidence zone, knowing that those are the last 3 races of the regular season?
Darlington, it really depends. Honestly, if the car's freed up there, I'm pretty good. If it's tight, I'm trash. Bristol, we're okay there. Gateway, we'll be okay there. Run decent on some flat tracks, so. But I know he does too. I mean, he whipped our ass pretty good at New Hampshire last week. We learned some stuff from that first run. We just never got a chance to use it in the race because it stayed green. But it'll be tough. He's fast, and but it'll be fun. It'll be fun also. So be a good time going forward.
Well, Chad, we can't wait to see how you perform in those final 3 races, but congratulations on second here this evening. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout-outs.
Yeah, first and foremost, I got to thank Rob and all the guys here with 802. All their league sponsors. I mean, my mind's blank. I honestly couldn't. I'm sorry, but I couldn't tell you what they were. But thanks to all of them, whoever puts the money into this deal to make it happen. Thanks to you guys for broadcasting. Like I've said before, you guys, hands down right now, the best broadcast group on the iRacing side for anything oval anyway. And got to thank Parker, Josh Parker, being in the channel racing with us tonight. I thank Alan Cryer for spotting and keeping us up to date on the Braves game. And congrats to my boy Kevin, getting him a dub, even though it came at my expense. But that's the way it goes on these tracks. You pick a buddy and hopefully one of you win.
Well, you guys were certainly a dynamic duo here tonight. Congratulations, Chad, on second here this evening, and good luck next week at Darlington.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All righty. Well, that will finish up second place's interview. We're going to head down to third place to go see how the 22 team is feeling of Mike Kelly. Mike, you come away third, but at a moment there, we weren't sure if you were going to win this race or get wrecked out. Ultimately, you come away third there at the end. How are you feeling after your performance here this evening?
Yeah, hold on a second here. I'm changing my underwear. All right. Okay, we're good. Yeah, that last lap was a barn burner there, wasn't it? Sorry, I hope
it
that
certainly was.
But yeah, I almost died several times, and it wasn't just on the last lap. But hey, that's what you expect at Daytona, and nice to be up here to talk with you guys again. It's been a while. I'm not even sure. This might be my first podium of the regular season. It's been so bad I can't even remember. But what a wild one, boys!
Definitely a wild one, Mike. But man, you kept yourself up at the front half of the field, or front majority of the field there for majority of the night, and the strategy was kind of mixing up, of course, with the way the cautions were. You were one of our drivers that stayed out. Take us through those decisions, and man, it definitely still played out for you good.
Yeah, I was doing my best to have the dumbest pit strategy of the race. Like I've been my forte this season, but if I pit, you guys you can count on a caution coming, and it happened again. But first of all, yeah, I didn't go in, early on, whenever that was, where it was very, very tight. Those guys that pitted were pretty good, probably to make it on one stop from there. I was not good, and I had to save a lot. So I was doing a lot of saving. Everyone was doing a lot of saving. And I was trying to at least get to halfway there. And I guess it turned out to be a blessing, I guess. I couldn't make it to halfway. And, as you saw, possibly, if you were covering the pit stops there, I went in on lap 44, and the yellow came out right after I pitted. But I fooled them this time. I stayed on the same lap and got my service completed and came out in front. So that put me in the situation, though, where I was going to be really close on, getting through the second part of the race and not having to pit. But fortunately, the guys made sure I got plenty of yellows and saved enough gas to get to the end and set me up for that exciting finish.
It certainly was exciting, Mike. I know for most of this evening, it was kind of hard to find allies at times. A couple of teams were able to stick with one another, but you had to work with a lot of different dancing partners to get at the end of this race. What was that like on those final laps, trying to navigate yourself to even be in the position you were at the end?
That's funny you brought that up, because as I was pulling down pit road, I said over chat, I said, this is not fun when you don't have any friends. So, Scotty's my teammate, but the whole race, he had his own problems back there. He was fortunate enough to recover and get an 11th and jump a spot in the points, I believe. So kudos to him for being able to do that. But we were both having some issues, and I was just able to, get it back up to the front and just survive. I guess that was the key. But there was a lot of times when guys were just driving so crazy I didn't even want to be up there. So a lot of fuel saving, a lot of surviving, and just got really lucky being at the right place at the right time there at the end as well. And it's fortunate, it figures all these races that aren't wild cards, I can't manage the race worth of crap. But tonight, just doing silly stuff and missing all the wrecks, and it all worked out. So I got some luck at Daytona, of all places.
Maybe it's just have some fun and hope for the best that sometimes will help out. Mike, we're so happy to talk with you here tonight. But before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout-outs.
Just a shout-out to the winner there, Kevin Brown, for he's a gunner, and he's great at these big super speedways and always a threat. So if you follow him, you'll probably be at the front, or you might be wrecked. It's a 50-50 chance. So shout out to him for the win. Shout out to you guys for doing these broadcasts. I've really enjoyed viewing them all season long, and I'm not in them very long some weeks, but I managed to go to the end and view these fine broadcasts you guys are putting on. Really appreciate that. And then, of course, all the admins and the sponsors here at 802. Really enjoy racing with these guys and working with Rob, and the series has grown a lot for the better in the short time that I've been racing here. So shout out to them for growing this series into the really fun racing that it's turned out to be. And, of course, shout out to the Smoking Hot Wife for letting me do this.
Well, that will be the 22 of Mike Kelly coming away third here tonight. And, Mike, we hope this is building blocks for the momentum to continue moving in the right direction for you for the rest of the season. Congratulations again, and good luck at Darlington next week.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Just looking for W's for the rest of the season and get through this terrible season and look forward to next year.
We hope to see you get some of those wins, Mike. Congratulations again, and good luck next week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
You too, as that will finish up our interviews here this evening. Certainly, we made it through. I think that's kind of always the mentality when you survive a race at a super speedway. And we got a couple of drivers able to do so, a couple of drivers that ended on the wrong side, facing the wrong way, and others that came back across the line with a very destroyed vehicle. But the two that were up front, they were the two that dominated most of the race. It's Kevin D. Brown and Chad Coleman coming 1-2 just by 11 one-thousandths of a second. In third, we find Mike Kelly with Brandon T. Banks in fourth. Josh Parker, what a recovery run for the 26 that had all of his woes, able to get fifth. Tanner Tellerico, who we thought maybe could have made a charge, maybe could have snuck away with this, was passed there on the back stretch. Will come away sixth. And then Derek McDonald, I think the last real surge that maybe could have broke up the teammates up front, chose the wrong place, and the 72 will come away in seventh. Brandon Grand will take the eighth place for the one. Ty Dickinson, also a driver with Derek McDonald, getting their first top 10 of the season. Congratulations to that 67 team. And Anthony M. Calatoni finishing out our top 10. But Zach, man, this is a fun roller coaster of how this race went up and down.
It was, Sam. And give a shout out to Kevin S. McDonald there. He didn't get a top 15 there in 15th and 9th. And you see the people from 15th on back of Michael Wolf, Steve Tucker, Johnny Barker, Brett Hahn, Logan Troyer, Kip Easley, Eric Schaefer, and really on all the way down to 25th. Those were all drivers involved in that last lap melee of wrecks and incidents that happened. So that really shook up from 15th on back, made a lot of people crawling across the line, so to say, to get some of these spots. And then as you go farther back, this is where you start to see the drivers who were out of this race somewhat early, and it was a tough night for a few of them. Look no farther than our points leader of Mark Whitley and our pole setter Joe Hudson. Both of those drivers involved in that first wreck, they're going to be 36th and 37th tonight here. That is a tough ordeal for them.
Yeah, they're going to have to change things around as it does not get easier on track, as they will now be heading to Darlington next week for the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. Tonight, though, it's Kevin D. Brown. He will now be joining the mixture of drivers now with 2 wins this season. That's going to be Isaiah Sutherland, Mark Whitley, Tyler Ducharme, and now Kevin D. Brown with 2 wins apiece. Congratulations to all those drivers, as 3 races are left in the regular season. Who's got the regular season championship? It's wide open now after a night like tonight. But for us up the booth, it certainly has been a good one. We got more racing action next week as we go check out the Trinity Racing League on Monday nights. They're going to be starting up their mid-season bracket challenge, as they're going to be having their fun at Chicagoland. 32 drivers entering into the bracket who will find their way with the bracket win after a couple of races. We'll have to wait and see on Mondays. Tuesdays in October, we're back to BRB coverage, and it is not just for the summer break. We will be covering the whole season 7 of the BRB Cup Series as they're transitioning from the ARCA car to the next gen. Don't want to miss out on that on Tuesday nights. That will be in October when we start broadcasting those drivers. And then next week, 802 Next Gen Elite Series. We're right back here for Darlington. Zach, plenty of great racing action that we've got next week and in the future.
That we do, Sam. Yeah, definitely exciting stuff coming up. But man, definitely some great races coming up in this near future, of course, with Trinity and 802. These 2 leagues continue to show out, and it's always fun to be here, man, calling these races each and every Monday and Thursday night. I really, really have been enjoying this a ton. So shout out to the league, shout out to all the drivers and all the, the nice comments they make. Those definitely make us feel good up in the booth.
Yeah, it's nice when you hear that what we're putting all this hard effort into, that they're enjoying it, as well as we also want to say thank you again for myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall. We also want to appreciate our producer in the background of Robert Moyer Jr. and everything that he does. But we also want to say thank you to all the sponsors that come along for all these leagues and for this season of the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. We want to say thank you to G-Stone Motors, BG Graphics, the Admin Box, the 802 iRacing League podcast, and our Riptide Radio post-race show. Thank you to all the amazing sponsors that come on board and help out all the different leagues, but thank you to those that are on board for this season of the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. But for us, it's been a blast to give you the call here on Thursday nights. Had to go to overtime for the Firecracker 225 here from Daytona International Speedway, and it was the teammates side by side coming to the end. But again, for myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall and Robert Moyer Jr., we appreciate everyone hanging out with us live that watch it after the fact. It's been an eventful evening for the drivers as well for us up at the booth, and we're happy we made it all the way through. If you're watching this after the fact, remember to go down to the comments, let us know what was your favorite part of tonight's race. And if you're watching live, we'd love to hear that too in the comments of what was your favorite moment of this evening's race. It was a plenty of action with plenty of different wrecks, some big ones, some chaos, but it was the Dominators that got to the victory and found themselves in victory lane. Kevin D. Brown in the 93 grabbing his 2nd win, but can he carry on this momentum? Same for Chad Coleman, who finished 2nd. There's a regular season championship on the line and 3 races left. Darlington, Gateway, and Bristol. But if you can't wait until then for Thursday night action, we've got you covered. Monday night, it's the start of the in-season bracket as the drivers from the Trinity Racing League take the O'Reilly's car to Chicagoland. Who's gonna survive the chaos because the drama's been heating up? You don't want to miss out on it, as that is our next Freaky Fast broadcast.
I was standing, staying still, never said what I feel, and every time I took the blame, carried all this quiet shame. Cause all the pressure in my chest, I've gotta fight to catch my breath, when every step still feels the same, trying not to break. Where do I go from here? Maybe I'll disappear. If I don't try, I'll never know. I'm waiting on you. Where do I go from here? There will be no more tears. Kill the doubt, feed the fire, hear the voice inside. Warrior. shot, now I want mine. You fall, I rise, I take the wheel. So this is how it feels. Where do I go from here? Maybe I'll disappear if I don't try.